Hello and welcome to the One About Podcast, the show where we don't have a clue about protocol droids each week. This week we dive into the prequel trilogy to see if they hold up today and how they actually compare to the original trilogy. This is the One About Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. I'm your host Dean. I also go by EndlessCola in places around the internet, and I am joined this week by the premature birthday boy, Jordan, and the Jar Jar to my Binks, John.
Why?
I got the better one.
Sucks, man. Every time. It's like Ewoks wasn't bad enough, so you do this?
I mean,
What
are you
did
going
I
to
do to
deny that
you?
you're not the Jar Jar Binks of us?
To be fair, you are right about that. Yeah, I can't even deny
Okay. So now that we got that out of the way, how you guys doing this week, man?
Good.
Yeah, just good.
Doing good. Playing some good games. Ghost of Tsushima came out. Loving
Yeah,
it.
it did.
Wow. Fantastic game. So I'm enjoying every moment of that. It's pretty much what I've been doing the whole time.
Dude, that game is like way better than it has any right to be.
Yeah. They put a lot of love into it and it shows.
Like I've heard a lot of people complain about it not having a lock-on system, but I don't have
Get
any
good.
issues with that at all.
Get good.
Get good, nerd.
Yeah. Like I've gotten my ass kicked so many times, and my only response to myself whenever I get really pissed off is get good. Because
Yeah.
whenever you do win, whenever you do respawn and actually take out all of those Mongols or finish that duel, it's rewarding as hell.
It is, man. Especially for those legendary or the mythic arts.
Ooh. I was not prepared for the Heavenly Strike. I got my ass kicked so many times, and when I finally beat the duel, it was so worth it.
Oh, dude, that move is legit.
It's awesome. It is awesome. If I can never stop healing enough to freaking use it, but whatever.
Are you really getting your ass beat that bad?
I'm on hard mode.
Oh,
But
you playing on hard? Okay.
yeah, I jumped right to hard because I was like, look, I'm not gonna pussyfoot around here. If I'm gonna be a samurai, I'm gonna be good. I'm gonna put in the work. I'm gonna really be be a tactician. And that being said, I thought I would do more ghost stuff, but no. I walk into everything asking for showdowns every single fucking time because they're so damn fun.
You know what's funny to me is like I do that too. Like I go into most encounters the honorable way as a samurai and don't do the ghost thing unless I have some like narrative reason to do so. But they still like shit talk you every single time like you're being dishonorable. I'm like I went out there and called out every single dude one by one. What do you want from me?
It's funny, the first time you assassinate someone, so the first time that I did it, I jumped off a rooftop and I just came down with my sword on them.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Oh, this is going to be awesome and super epic." And I was very satisfied with how it felt to kill them like that. But then it immediately brings you to a flashback of him as a child, and it's like, "Promise me you'll never break our code." And he's like, "I'm never going to break the code." It's like, "Oh shit, I just flew off this building and stabbed this dude in the neck." Like, and I'll do it again.
I flew off this building and broke the fuck out of that.
Yeah,
code.
I shattered the code.
It does that a few times as you continue to use the ghost abilities.
But they're so good.
It'll continue to take you back and make you feel like shit for playing stealthy all the time. Every single time I'm like, "Oh, I don't want to do this, but I don't have a choice." Like there's some missions where it's like you have to do this stealthy. If you're seen, then you fail. I'm like, "Oh, but it feels so dishonorable, man."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm loving Ghost of Tsushima. I have to be 12, 15 hours into the game and I haven't left the first area yet. I mean, granted, the first area is the largest area when you look at the map by like a lot, but still, like I'm just doing every little side quest, following those little foxes wherever they
I
go.
can't. The second I see a golden bird or a fox, I pivot. I have to follow them.
Dude, have you run into issues with the golden birds where they just kind of like go in circles waiting for you? And
So
you're like, go where you're going.
I just ran into something, and I don't know if it was me or not. So I'm at the Forge.
Uh-huh.
In the first area, there's the Forge there. It's a huge town. I entered there. It's completely vacant. No one's there. Kind of weird, but I looted the hell out of it. And there was this golden bird that brought me to the forge every single time, and I had no idea what it was asking me to find. There was no one there. There was nothing left to loot. I scoured it for like 20 minutes trying to figure out why is this bird leading me here? Because usually when you complete whatever they're trying to guide you to, they just don't reappear.
Yeah.
So I just left. I couldn't figure it out. I just took it as a bug. Maybe later on there'll be someone there that I can talk to and get a quest from, but I couldn't figure it out.
Do you have the what is it? The adventurer's armor?
No, I only had the Wanderers.
Oh, it might be wanderers.
The one that like
Anyway,
kind of vibrates whenever you get close to artifacts and stuff.
yes, that one.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. That's
does
the
it
first one.
do that when you go to the forge?
No. I mean, there was an artifact in that town where the forge is, but not specifically at the forge.
Weird. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Whatever. Maybe later on, I'll find something else there.
Yeah, you'll figure it out. It's
Yeah.
whatever. But this game will punish the shit out of you if you mess up.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting that the hard way right now. So I've got to be like parries are key, but sometimes the unblockable or the unparryable, I guess I don't really know a word for that, but the actions that you can't parry, the ones that are highlighted in red, um,
Mm.
those sometimes they happen so fast I just cannot avoid them accurately enough to not get devastated. So definitely a learning curve, but it's still enjoyable.
Yeah, I have all the stances now, and switching between those on the fly as you're swarmed by like a ton of guys is really satisfying and makes you feel like a real badass.
Ooh, I look forward to that. John, what have you been up to?
I've been playing Pokemon Sun and Moon, so I could play Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon to transfer over all the legendaries.
Are you just like
And
farming for legendaries right now or something?
yeah, just farming for legendaries while I wait for Sword and Shield's next expansion. And I didn't realize, like, first of all the quality of life additions that Sword and Shield added, how much I would miss them. And second of all, how Battle Tree just straight destroys my whole world. Yeah,
Oh
basically.
yeah, the battle tree was hard, dude. I remember playing that game thinking like, "Oh, this game's easy. How hard could it possibly be?" The battle tree whips your ass though.
Oh yeah, like they literally took like algos from VGC matches and like pro players and like put that in the CPU's algorithm. Like I just played a match where the dude switches Pokemon like 4 times to dodge my attacks. Like it and like this is a CPU. And I'm just like for real? This is how you do it? This is what you do to me? And I was like, my only thought is like, why didn't they transport all that information over to Sword and Shield? It would have made it that much better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I noticed there's a lot of people, especially our age, that are complaining about Pokemon these days. And it's just not for us like that, you know? Like I don't disagree that Pokemon would be better for us if it was harder, if the CPU had like real strategy behind it and it wasn't just, like use super effective moves and you win type of shit. But that's also not the point of the games that they're making.
No, I'm not saying that, but like Battle Tree is like end game content, like what you use to farm to get like really good items for like online battling. Um, but I get what you're saying. It's not to be hard, but like if it's in game content, you should make it challenging in order for us to like invest more time in it. Like right now for Sword and Shield, like doing the end game battle tree, I put up quotations. I murdered that with a rental comp with one phalanx and just doing a move over and over again.
Yeah, you did.
And I got just bountiful amounts of BP. Like I'm not BP starved or anything like that. On top of the fact that Pokemon Home, for trading Pokemon and Pokemon Home, you get points that you can transfer to BP as well. So to me, like it just seems lazy. Like I get what you're saying, but like for in-game content, it should be difficult to a certain degree that makes it to where you want to keep playing it again, to where you want to get better, where you have to invest more time and effort than just like, oh, my Pokemon's level 100, he has a good item, and I can just body everything. It's like, no, you need to like breed your Pokemon with the right ability with good IVs, like in this. Like I went through my whole Poke PC and tried to find the best Pokemon with the best IVs in order for me to try and do this battle tree. Like I'm trying to get past 3 wins right now.
Am I the only one who's sitting here just like desperately waiting for them to allow me to transfer my Pokemon from Pokemon Go to Pokemon Home already?
Wait, you still can't do that? Like, why can you not do that? That doesn't make sense.
Because they haven't turned it on, I guess. I don't know. Like, I don't know if they're having issues getting it to work or something, but it's still not a thing.
I
That's
mean,
that's stupid.
transitioning. Well, no, I can't even really say that. I was gonna say transitioning the like Pokemon to a mainline game would be difficult because how you translate the stats. But they've already done that
Yeah.
in the Let's Go games. So I
Yeah,
guess
I knew that's where you're going. I was like, nope, that's not an
yeah, like
excuse.
so there's not an incredible excuse outside of just to keep people playing Pokemon Go, I guess. But I own Sword and Shield. I actually got it when it came out, and I have yet to play it. Something has something,
Really?
and I love Pokemon. I absolutely love Pokemon. But Sword and Shield, just for some reason, has fallen on deaf ears. Would you say, John, that Sword and Shield is easier than Sun and Moon? Because I found Sun and Moon to be a nice challenge at times.
Um,
It's definitely harder than X and Y.
Oh,
yeah,
X and Y
Uh,
so
was so boring. I hated X and Y. I liked the Pokemon, but I hated the game because it was so easy.
yeah,
yeah.
so like Dean would actually be the better one to ask that because I've actually only played Red and Blue, and then I played Sun and Moon. So that's a huge hiatus from Pokemon. Like, yeah, you play
Oh my
Pokemon Stadium, Snap,
gosh.
Pokemon Tournament, that kind of stuff, but never a legit Pokemon game till Sun and Moon, because he convinced me to get back into it, and like it looked interesting, especially Solgaleo. But anyways,
Wow, what a huge
and
jump.
yep, and then after I completed Sun and Moon, I didn't even complete it to like fruition. Like no full Pokedex, no battle tree, no nothing, and then there was a hiatus after that, and then I got hyped for Sword and Shield. To me, Sword and Shield was super fun. I loved it a lot, especially with like the Max Raidens. I think was like one of the best additions that they could have ever thought of, and a lot of the quality of life buffs I didn't realize until I went back to play Sun and Moon. Like just breeding Pokemon, like you have to go through 3 or 4 extra boxes of text just to get your egg. Like you can access your PC from anywhere. Like there
Hmm.
was a lot of quality of life things that they put in Sword and Shield that make the game so much better. As for difficulty, it was Sun and Moon was a lot easier than Sword and Shield. I actually lost to the champion twice because I wasn't prepared for what he was bringing to the table. But it was fun.
I think I remember losing to the champion in Sun and Moon. And I definitely remember trying the battle tree and getting stomped.
Yeah, the battle
Yeah.
tree is hella hard. Like you have to legit look up like VGC setups and stuff like that because I started doing competitive Pokemon battling online with Sword and Shield because I just wanted to try it out. I was like, man, I invested this much time, like why not? So I did like breeding, IV training, all stuff like that, and it was super fun. So like when I went back to Battletree, I was like, okay, this should be easy. And then I'm just getting bodied by the CPU. I was like, dude, these guys are like doing hardcore strats, like super tanks I cannot kill unless I'm prepared for them, like all that kind of stuff. Like this guy just pulled out a substitute. Like, what CPU is just gonna randomly pull out a substitute? Come on.
I think to answer your question, Jordan, I think that Sun and Moon are a little bit more difficult than Sword and Shield.
Okay.
Like the gyms for me, like generally speaking, the gyms aren't what they were back in the past. Like you kind of go in there and you do some little BS task like herding sheep or something like that, and maybe you
Yeah.
battle a trainer or two on the way. There's no way that you can possibly avoid them like there was in past games. Which is neither here nor there, but it's just kind of relating what it's like. And then when you actually get to the gym leader, really, if you have type advantage with one of your mons that can Dynamax, you're probably just going to sweep the entire gym with that Pokemon. So, so yeah,
Uh,
I definitely don't think it's more difficult, but I don't know. I would say it's probably pretty close.
they're pretty close. I would say the champion is harder in Sword and Shield than in Sun and Moon. There are some gyms where they like fool you with like type, like, oh, if you do type advantage, like they actually have like a counter for you. But I will say end game content is a lot better in Sun and Moon than in Sword and Shield. Like I'm
There's
figuring
a
Yeah,
that out
lot of
right
end
now.
game content in Sun and Moon
Oh yeah.
yeah.
with all the Ultra Beasts and stuff.
Oh yeah. Like
But the quality of life improvements they made in Sword and Shield are immense.
oh yeah. Like
They
there's
made a
no
lot of
way I can deny that.
like John,
None.
you missed out of all like Sun and Moon made a lot of quality of life improvements as well. Like it was a big leap from X and Y, so it sounds like a much larger leap going to Sword and
Sword and
Shield.
Shield. Yes.
It's
Trust me on
interesting,
this.
like as somebody who's played Pokemon since Red and Blue came out on my
Hmm.
green screen Game Boy, uh, I've seen the minor improvements they've made here and there. And it wasn't until the 3DS, I think, that they really started making like meaningful quality of life improvements game after game after game. And so now that we're in Sword and Shield, like they've really kind of nailed in all those little things that we've wanted for
Yeah.
so long.
Except
Like
for mass release.
I remember only having, what was it, like 30, 40 spaces in your backpack in the original games. And
Yeah.
then when you got more shit, you just had to throw it away. Like there's nothing you can do. You can't
Or
carry
Mhm.
no
store
more.
it. Or store it, which was so
Or oh my
incredibly
god.
cumbersome
Like I
that
said,
it wasn't
or
even
just
worth
throw it
it.
away.
Yeah, it
Just
wasn't
throw
even
it
worth
away.
it.
Because like getting something out of the PC in the original games was a goddamn nightmare.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's just not even worth it.
And
And there weren't any like immensely rare items in the original games. Like yeah, you had the could you even store the TMs and HMs? I don't remember. I think you could. But
Mm, can't remember.
regardless, like it's just not, there wasn't depth to those games. And so once you beat the story, it was just kind of over.
hmm
And so like going through the effort of storing items and to some extent even Pokemon wasn't really worth it. And now to come to this point where like you can just take out your Pokemon from the box no matter where you are. I don't even know if I've ever used the PC to manage my Pokemon in Sword and Shield. Like
yeah,
once. Because you don't need
yeah,
to.
exactly. It is just super good, and like, there's just so many good things that they did. Like little things that you don't notice until they're gone. Like sorting your items
Yeah.
by alphabetical, favoriting like which items you want at the top of your list. Like that stuff is pretty huge.
Yeah.
Like I'm in Sun and Moon, and I'm like, okay, which TMs do I got? I can't sort them by TM number. I can't sort them by name. I can't favorite which ones I use the most. On top of the fact that you can farm like specific HM moves, like one use discs from max raid dens. Getting a Destiny Knot, you have to go through the battle tree and get BP instead of like doing max raid dens for dittos. Like that's another thing. Item farming is a lot easier in Sword and Shield. Like really hard to get items. Like it, all of it is just amazing.
They
It is.
really they really made competitive players happy with this game. With
I
Sword and
feel.
Shield, I mean.
I feel like we need to do just an episode just on like the evolution of the Pokemon games from start. Like what was good,
Dude,
What was
I kind
bad?
of feel like I would need to replay the games to do that. I mean, I'm not against it, but that's going to take a minute. It would.
I would do it. I would do it. I would legit
I
go
know
out of my
you would.
way and like buy the games. Like I know Brian has red and blue. I could borrow that. He probably has a lot of them, and then like I can do the 3DS ones. But
Man, me and Dean and I played through Red and Blue like 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, just to do it together. I think it was actually a Nuzlocke run too, right?
Yeah.
It's rough.
It's really rough.
It's rough. Honestly, the whole game is fine, but Victory Road to the Elite
Oh
Four
my
sucks. It is the worst
god.
part of the game.
It's so bad.
There's an incredible difference between how you are when you first get to Victory Road versus actually being able to beat lands. You have to grind so much.
Yeah.
It's honestly, if they just lowered the Elite Four levels a little bit or provided more content to level up, it wouldn't be as bad. But man, that end of the game just was the worst part by far. The rest of it is pretty fine, and it's a great game all in all. But damn, that part was my least favorite by far.
You know what's funny is like we did that when they dropped those on the eShop for the 3DS.
Hmm.
And by the time it was over, it was shortly thereafter they came out with Gold and Silver on the eShop. And we were gonna do that one too. And after a couple hours into that game, I was like, I can't do this again, man.
I couldn't do it, and
I just dropped. I
there's
couldn't do
a
it.
there's a lot of improvements between Red and Blue and Gold and Silver, like 1 and 2 gens. There's and significant improvements. Like that's the reason why older players love Gen 2 so much. And there's definitely many people that look through rose-colored glasses and think Gen 2 is the best generation of Pokemon to date.
Spoiler, it's not.
I don't think it is. I think that the remakes in Gen 4 actually are Heart Gold and Soul Silver. I think those are the best Pokemon games ever made. But
Spoiler, they're also not.
I think that's what our Pokemon episode would just evolve into. It's just a shit throwing contest of what the best Pokemon game
it's
is.
As
fine.
long as nobody says Gen 4, that's fine.
All right.
Yeah.
I think it would be a good episode, but I think we need to get back on topic because we've delved into Pokemon far enough.
Oh, somebody's antsy to talk about Jar Jar Binks.
Let's
I
do it. All
really
right, let's do
am.
it.
I really am.
So, all right, if we're just gonna jump into
Let's pivot.
the Phantom Menace,
Mm-hmm.
Really, you have to say it like that?
I do want to ask you guys, like, because until the sequels came out, these movies were hated. Like, Star Wars fans, generally speaking, really, really hated the prequels. For me, I always loved the prequels.
I always loved the first episode and the third. I didn't like the second.
So historically I liked the second.
Yeah.
Recently though, I've kind of changed my mind after I watched them the last time a couple of years ago, and I was like, man, the second one's really not that good. But even then, I would still today I would still say the second one's better than anything they came out with in the sequel trilogy.
Oh, I wouldn't agree with that at all.
I know, but I'm not asking you at the moment. So my question is, like, how did you guys feel about the prequels, specifically before the sequels came out?
John?
So for me, the prequels were actually, in my opinion, more action packed and better produced than the originals. I get it, like
That's definitely
ti
true.
time in between, whatever you could say whatever you want, but like they were just good. The lightsaber duels were amazing. Like everything was good about the prequels. My problem with the prequels was Episode 3, and like that was basically like my
Such an
biggest
unpopular
qualm.
opinion.
I don't care what you say, but Episode 3 just like destroyed my love of the prequels. But rewatching Episode 1, like I realized like how good it was, especially with all like the big name acting talent that you don't even realize until like you actually like look at the credits.
Mm.
Cause like the makeup on Liam Neeson, I didn't even know that was him. I was like, wait, that was taking Liam Neeson. That was him. That was old boy.
These are
Before
the
Before
Taken,
skills he
yeah.
was talking about.
yeah, like these are the skills he was talking about.
Qui-Gon, you've fallen so hard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it was that, and just like there wasn't a real like slow lull in episode 1. Like it's like you start off with like a trade dispute between Naboo and the Trade Federation, so they're icing them out. Then the Jedi are called in to have like a peaceful meeting to like get this thing settled and actually get trade routes open to Naboo again. And then they just try and kill the Jedi right off the bat with Palpatine pulling the puppet strings like right from the get-go. And it's like okay, and then that's it. Then they have to run to this different place. And then they find this boy who's a super genius making pods, droids, fixing everything that you can get your hands on. Is what he's like 8, 9, and it. I think it was really well put together. And then there was pod race, and then of course the lightsaber duel, the end all lightsaber duels at that time that everybody replayed. Like it was just so good. It was just action packed throughout the whole thing. You were on the edge of your seat. My only problem was Jar Jar Binks. I get it. Like the worst part about it is like I can't even talk mess about Jar Jar Binks like I did the Ewoks. He actually played a pivotal role, especially in episode 1. Because without Jar Jar Binks, the Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi would probably be dead.
You know,
They, yeah.
arguably, he plays a bigger role in the sequels than he does in this movie. He's a big reason that shit goes down in those movies. But we'll get to that in a second. Jordan, how did you feel about these movies before the sequels came out? Like, were you a prequel hater in the past, or did you kind of like grow up with these movies and you had some love for them, or somewhere
I
in the
mean,
middle?
I'm of the same generation as you, so I was younger when I saw the first one, and I thought it was awesome. It had everything a kid my age when I saw it in theaters wanted. It had badass pod racing that I could immediately buy an N64 game for and
Yep.
play the shit out of
Hell
and love
yes.
it. And it had awesome lightsaber duels. It had a mixture of force powers, although force push, which is used like in 50 times. But it had funny little Gungans and aliens shaking their mouths, and it was there was action and a little bit of intrigue. And at the time, I didn't understand the plot. I just knew that Fade Federation, a Trade Federation bad, and now we fight. Like I didn't understand the actual political narrative there, so
I mean,
it
I'm
was
not gonna lie to
nice.
you. I didn't really understand the political situation on this viewing, so I can't
I
really
think
hold
I
it
got a
against
better
like an
understanding of it.
8-year-old.
I definitely focused more on it because that's what interests me more on this watch. So like during the scroll, they specifically point out that Naboo went into rebellion against the Trade Federation because of unfair taxes. And I'm like, America much? Yo.
Stupid. Dude.
So I'm like, hey, yo. Um and then I got to asking myself, who the hell is the Trade Federation? Why is it that why do they control all trade, and how are they able to create a blockade legally around Naboo? Because they make an important note within the first 10 minutes of the movie. They're like, our blockade is legal and they must succumb to our wishes, right? So like without the Trade Federation, whatever the hell that means, I don't know what kind of society they live in. Obviously, it's not some kind of open trade. There's a specific federation that allows the import and export of goods, and they're blockading the planet because they're just getting taxed too much. I don't know. That was kind of weird, and they don't really explain it too much, but I understand what they were going for because the movie's not really meant for people who are now our age in their 30s. The
Mhm.
movie was meant to recapture the hearts of younger children, and they don't really care about that. I didn't care about it when I was younger. I just knew those aliens were ugly, and the destroyer droids were awesome. That's all I
So
cared about.
so a couple of things. Like, it's funny that you say that these movies weren't made for people our age,
Didn't feel
because
like
like
it.
when your opening crawl says what the hell does it say? The taxation of trade routes to outlying star systems is in dispute. That's the first thing that you find out about
Mm,
this movie.
Yeah, it
Like,
so
if you're
you're
is.
sitting there as like an 8, 9 year old, you're like, what the
Bro,
fuck
I don't
does
remember
that
reading,
mean?
you're
dude,
not
as an
into
8,
politics, bro. Like you're gonna be lost.
I
You're
didn't
gonna be
read that
very
shit when I was a
lost.
kid. All I
No,
cared
yeah,
about,
I'm sure most kids didn't, but it's crazy because like I was thinking that same thing when I was watching the movie. Like, they make like poop jokes and fart
oh,
jokes in
all
this
the
movie.
time, dude.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I'm
Ah,
like,
fucking.
this movie started out about taxation and trade systems
Oh, and it
and
was,
trade disputes,
and it
and
was so
like,
awesome, and it was so awesome. Like the Senate, they sent a black ops group of Jedi's to quote unquote settle the trade dispute.
Hmm.
The
which
leader
is
of the Senate,
so weird when you think about it.
Yeah.
it's
Like,
weird as hell.
for them to be like, why the fuck they said kill the Jedi? This bullshit. They're gonna murder you. Just kill them. Like, that's actually kind of a logical response to that. Because like, why would you send a Jedi to figure that out?
Because they were the Supreme Chancellor is trying to strong arm the Federation. They're like, hey, we're going to send the Jedi, which remember are under our thumb. So if you don't listen to them, then they're a representation of the Force that'll be wielded against you. That was the initial concept. Of course, the Jedi and the Supreme Chancellor had no inkling that Palpatine was pulling the strings from behind the scenes and had everything according to his design. But
Did you have to say it like that?
but I mean, it was just so weird that they used Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan, which Qui-Gon Jinn was like the battle master. Like he held a high position in the Jedi Order at that time. I wish Matt was here because he could expand a little bit more. But Qui-Gon was not a normal Jedi Knight. Like he had a very privileged role on the Council, and it was unique for him to go there. But
Which you kind of
obvious,
see later when they go to the Jedi Council and he just starts like telling
he
Yoda,
was
and
demanding shit.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
like, he wasn't even demanding shit. He's like, this is how it's gonna be.
We
Yeah,
we teaching this boy.
yeah,
Like,
and
you don't
and
have to
even
do anything.
Yoda,
He was
yeah,
even like, you can't have two Padawans.
it's
I don't.
impossible.
He's a Jedi Knight now. I'm taking this one.
Yeah, he's like, all right, I'm done. All right, I'm tossing my side chick away. We're going with the main
Like,
one now.
I'm
I
cutting his
gotta,
braid off, dude. He's a
yeah.
knight now. Yoda's like, whoa, 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 dude. We say when he's a Jedi Knight, you need to calm your ass down,
Hmm.
dude. Qui-Gon Jinn rules,
He
but
does rule.
it's so weird to me. Like, this is the first thing. This isn't the first thing that popped into my head when I was watching this movie, but something that occurred to me. It's kind of the first thing that happens. So, like, in that opening crawl, um it says that Congress is endlessly debating the chain of events set forth by like the blockade and how they're trying to take over Naboo and all this shit. But then later in the movie, you go and Amidala like presents this to the Senate, and it's like they've never heard it before. They're like, "Well, we kind of have to investigate. Would you mind if we send
Well,
some dudes down there to find out?"
they so
Eh,
they knew about the blockade. They didn't know about the invasion. That was the difference.
yeah.
She went to tell them about the invasion and occupation of the planet by the Trade Federation. They knew about the
Yeah.
Oh,
blockade.
so they're like,
Yeah.
you guys can cut off all trade to Naboo. That's cool. Starve them out. But
Yeah,
as soon as you put feet on the ground, now we got
yeah.
problems,
I
bro.
mean
It,
that means that's like what's it? That's when you're doing Western imperialism, manifest destiny. When you're trying to take over all the galaxies, they're not cool with that because that means they're gaining more power, they're gaining more ground, and that hinders them themselves. Like the Trade Federation was trying to gain power and usurp everybody. They were trying to be the new empire. That's what the whole thing of the prequels was. Like Trade Federation was trying to run shit.
it was weird because what type of what type of structure allows a foreign entity to blockade all trade of an entire planet because
That
they're fighting against their taxation? Like
that's
that's
what's
like
weird to you, dude?
how is that? Well, it's weird that it's weird that remains legal, but then the subsequent invasion / occupation of said planet by that entity, that's the illegal part, not the blockade. Which, like, America can't just blockade another country because they're having trade disputes. That shit's illegal as hell.
Yeah,
I mean, we
You
that's true.
know?
can.
Oh, you can, but it's like it's immediate war. It's like just go to war. You'll it'll be easier probably.
Yeah, but this would be like if we were like, you know what? F you, Sweden. We're putting a blockade around you. Like, you ain't got no allies. Nobody cares about Naboo. But
It's
what's really crazy to me, like, and I think you kind of touched on this earlier, is like, who the hell is the Trade Federation? The Trade Federation is a company, dude. Like,
Mhm.
they're a big intergalactic shipping and trade company,
They're
and
just
they're
a
on the Galactic Senate. They don't
Yep.
dude,
like they don't like influence the Senate. They are on the Senate.
dude,
They're they're
that's like
literally a representation of big business oil. Like
Like,
that's
can
what
you?
bro.
they are.
Yeah, but like they're not like what do you call that when they're a lobbying arm for this company or whatever. Like, this would be like if Amazon was in Congress.
They
Like,
Yeah,
had a
they
representative.
have a
Yeah,
representative in Congress.
basically you are correct, but I stand by the statement that they hold the position as a hyperbole for big business Congress. I mean, big business oil in the Galactic Federation. Like they're just there to show like how much power they have, even though they only handle like logistics and transporting goods and or services.
Can we just talk for a second about how, like, this whole movie kind of hinges around the idea that Palpatine starts this whole thing with these, frankly, really stupid leaders of the Trade Federation. Like, it's kind of baffling to me that they got into this position with how dumb they are. But like, he
Uh,
starts this whole thing with like the blockade and
mm-hmm,
doing this and doing that, all in this immensely elaborate plan to become the Supreme Chancellor.
mm-hmm.
And yet, he gets defeated by a man with one hand who picks him up over his head and throws him into the center of a half-built Death Star.
I mean, the fact that
that's
he touched upon this last episode where like it was his hubris that was his downfall more than anything else. And I'll say this, like after watching, like when we get through the prequels and watching like how many things had to coincide for him to reach his goal and actually complete like the destruction of the Jedi and like ruling the Senate and being Supreme Chancellor, how many things had to work in his favor with how stupid the people that he was working with? Yeah, he felt like he was on top of the world and nobody could touch him. Like that's how this is. That's how it's set up.
So much so that he's like, this is where our master base is. Just head on over there, destroy it. We're not gonna
Basically, like
boys, don't worry about the teddy bears. The teddy bears aren't gonna do anything.
he's straight
Also,
up
don't worry
he's
about Vader. He has one hand.
nah, he's straight up Bezos untouchable. That's how he felt.
he really is. I'm afraid the shield will be fully operational by the time your friends arrive.
Oh
He's
my god, it's
he is the
so good.
he is the epitome, man, of the puppet master, and
Yeah.
we're seeing his rise. This is his first
Yeah,
big political move. So
yeah.
he
Well, not his
he
first big one because he gets on the Senate before this.
which
Like,
I
that's
have a
no.
question about that. He represents Naboo, right? Because a Senate member is a representative of something, right?
Yeah,
So
Mhm.
is he a representative of a collection of star systems, and Naboo just happens to be one of them under his wing, or is he a direct representative of the planet of Naboo?
I
I
believe he was a representative for Naboo specifically.
But he wasn't a native of Naboo, right?
Isn't he?
Have to
I
look
don't
that up.
think so. Pretty sure he's
Yes,
not.
he is. He is.
Eh,
His homeworld is Naboo.
Did you Google it?
Yeah. I've been ever since we started talking about Palpatine. I had him pulled up, so I
Wait,
just
he
checked real
was.
quick.
See, he is a native of Naboo.
Correct.
Oh my god, I never knew that.
Surprise.
Wow. Yeah. So it makes a lot more sense. It does. I'm like, how is he a representative in the Senate? I'm like, maybe there's like a collection of star systems that he's just like a representative of like a quadrant or something or a local cluster. But no, okay, well, he's a
No, yeah,
native. No
and
shit.
I just checked it. He was specifically a representative for the planet of Naboo.
Wow. Okay.
I feel like it was a masterstroke. He was creating a conflict that he would become the hero of.
And
Like,
he knew, I think he knew that conflict would fail too.
yeah.
Because if he grew up on Naboo, he should know about the Gungans. I mean, how
I'm
do you
sure he
not
did.
know about an equal
Apparently,
species?
there's like a lot of turmoil between them and the Gungans, so I imagine he's
Uh,
very much aware.
Not really, because towards the end of the movie, when Princess Amidala goes and tries to get help from the Naboo king, she's like, "We've had." What was her quote that I didn't fucking believe at all? Her quote was, "Hold
Jesus.
on."
He's looking it up.
Uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh.
How long will it take him to get it
Oh,
pulled up?
she
Would you
says that
stop that?
she says we've always lived in peace. Bullshit. You're gonna tell
That's
me that too,
wow.
dude? The same damn species on planet Earth can't even live in peace. How are two separate intelligent species on one planet gonna live in peace? That shit ain't happening.
Especially when the Guggins like talk and act like dyslexic children.
Ah.
I can't I can't deal with the way that they talk. It's like I feel like when Alexandria gets to like 3 or 4, if she watches this movie, she will talk like that, and I will like hate my own child.
She's gonna have like this weird, like quasi Jamaican accent out
It's
of
so
nowhere.
bad.
Dude, I was watching this movie, and I watch almost all my movies with subtitles on these days.
Me too. Yeah.
Mostly because my wife prefers watching movies with subtitles, so I just kind of do it
Oh my
automatically.
god.
But like,
Same boat right here. It's the same thing with Kim. She, like I can't watch anything without subtitles anymore. So
yeah.
yeah,
So
I just wanted to
like,
let you know I'm with you on that.
but
Mhm.
it was funny because like I was watching it, and like as I'm watching it, the scenes with the Gungans, I'm like, dude, I would have no idea what they're saying if I didn't have subtitles on right now. And there
Yeah.
was a couple of scenes where it's like, is that really what he just said?
Mm-hmm. Oh man, I love the fact that the subtitles have the sounds where it's like like that. Like I was like, dude, he actually typed this out. Like I applaud your dedication to the
I want
craft.
to read the script. Like right
So-
here, King Gungan.
Yeah, yeah. Like I applaud his dedication to the craft. Like that was hilarious to me. But
Can we just like take a second to appreciate, Jordan, how you and I don't know shit about protocol droids? Like, they're legit everywhere in these movies.
I got so excited when I
yeah,
saw that silver C3 unit in the very beginning.
TC
yep,
14.
Dude, and it
mhm.
was so much better than C3PO too. It was, you know, it was collected, it was elegant, it was hospitable, it was pleasant to talk with, and C3PO is just a jackass. But I mean, seeing this movie, you kind of understand like he's just kind of a garage build from Anakin.
Yeah.
Like he leaves the planet without even it being done. He's just like, okay, peace out, C3PO. You'll probably get sold for parts. Bye. And he just
Without an
leaves.
exoskeleton or anything. Like he's
Yeah.
literally a junk droid.
R2
Like
But
R2 calls him naked.
but when he first meets R2, he's actually quite cordial. He's like a
Mhm.
good droid. And it gives, at least for me, it gave me the impression like the reason he is the way that he is in the original trilogy is because he's seen some shit, son.
yeah,
Like,
that actually makes sense. That actually makes sense.
like he was mostly a normal protocol droid, and then like after being abandoned on this fucking desert planet and going through all this galactic shit, now in the original trilogies, he's got like one eye popping out and shit. He's got jitters in the back room when we're not watching him and shit. Like C3PO is just like, I was not made for this. Why
He's
am I
got
always
droid
in the middle?
PTSD. Just droid
Right?
PTSD. Like, I
Yeah,
get
dude.
you. I get
That's
exactly
why
what you're
he's like,
saying.
I'm out of here, dude. I've seen enough of this bullshit in my time.
Yep, I'm done here. Like, I don't need any more of this in my droid life.
Like for the last 30 years, I've been dealing with people shooting at me. I'm a protocol droid. I wasn't made to be shot at.
I'm here to translate and get you coffee. That's it.
And I've been dismantled. I've been blown up. What I'm saying
Yeah,
is I feel really bad for C3PO now.
Yeah, I
he's had
get
a
it.
hard life.
How
Actually,
about
actually, by the time I finished watching this movie, I was like, man, I really don't want this kid to turn to the dark side.
Dude,
Like, I
I don't I
love Anakin in this movie.
I'm not looking for. I thought the kid they got to play Anakin was great. He was cute,
yeah?
he was
Yeah.
relatable, he was fun, he was energetic,
And
he was
and
he
he
was
wasn't a great actor, but like that made him feel so
it
genuine.
totally
Yeah,
worked, man. I like watching that pod racing scene, like I got anxious. I'm like, like I know he's gonna win, but oh my goodness.
Dude,
Like
that scene where he's like, it's working. I was like,
oh I got
yes, it's
yeah,
working, man.
yeah. Good job, little man.
You
You
did
know?
it, dude.
it was really good. It was really good. They made a
And
great
then
choice with him.
they pull out Hayden Christensen, which I'll have a lot to
Mhm.
say about in
Yeah.
the next
I'm actually
podcast.
Yeah,
I'm actually really interested to see how that goes down in the next movie. Cause like I remember the movies, but I don't remember ever feeling this way about Anakin when I watched episode 1 before. So I'll be interested to see if it like colors how I feel about Hayden
I liked him.
Christensen.
Yeah,
no,
Dude, I
I
loved him.
liked him. He got
But
upset when he was called a slave boy. I thought that was cool,
oh
So,
dude, I'm a person.
yeah, I'm like, ooh,
yeah,
shit.
that was such a powerful scene. That was a huge scene. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't even remember that, and when I watched it, I was like, oh, he corrected him real quick. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And how like Qui-Gon comments on how he just gives with no expectation of anything in return. He's just a
Yeah,
really good kid.
yeah, I will say that. Like I would like most people are like, well, that's just how kids are. I was like, no, actually, kids innately are very selfish and impulsive, and usually only think about what they can get out of a situation. But Anakin
100%.
definitely was just like very kind, always looking to help out people, like always watching other people's backs, like especially as a slave. Like,
Mhm.
dude, most of the time, like, especially as a slave, like, you think, like, he'd just be looking out for him and his mom and nobody else. Like, as long as
Mm-hmm.
nothing that someone else did impeded on, like, their life and, like, made their life any worse, he probably shouldn't have cared. But he was, like, all up in everybody's business, risking basically his life and his mother's life
Without a
to
second
help
thought.
out people. Yeah, just, like, without hesitation.
And
And
he's so driven.
Yeah.
and honestly, a lesser movie, and I actually really appreciated this watching this movie again. A lesser movie and a lesser writer would have used the Force to represent how innately gifted he was. So episode 7 did this with Rey. Like she immediately had force powers and all this other bull crap, could wield a
Mm-hmm.
lightsaber perfectly fine. But what they did in this first movie to show you this kid is force adept, they didn't show him using force powers, using, being any type of a like just using the force in any facet whatsoever, right? Like knowing the future whatsoever. They represented his adeptness purely through pod racing. And Qui-Gon said it best. He's like, it kind of feels like he has incredible reaction speed. Like he can see things before they happen. And his mom's like, yeah, he has special powers. He's like, well,
Mm-hmm.
that's the force. And they didn't make it to like, oh, Anakin's the chosen one because this little 8-year-old boy is lifting up this giant object, like it's a very anime thing to do when you first
Mm-hmm.
meet like a really gifted, Padawan or a really gifted
Middle school
anime
student.
character. They do something incredible and everyone's like, oh shit, okay, we're paying attention. They just used the pod racing, which was an incredible scene. I
Yeah,
honestly,
super chaotic.
I'll go on record saying the first part of this movie is better than the second part.
Hmm.
I think that up to, because I honestly I believe the Battle of Naboo is pretty weak. I think every Gungan's shot is weak as hell. I think the space battle is pretty fucking weak. I think that the stupid crawl through the Capitol building to find the Federation boss was weak too. The only good part of the Battle of Naboo was the actual fight with Darth Maul. But
Yeah,
everything else about that I thought was pretty damn weak. But the first half of this movie, being on Tatooine, the political intrigue involved, that was extremely strong and had me captivated.
yes, yeah,
Captivated.
yeah.
You
I'd
know
have to
what
agree with you
wasn't
on
really
that.
strong though? The actress who plays Shmi. Like
Hmm?
Shmi,
Shmi.
Shmi,
Who?
Anakin's mom.
Shmi. Yeah,
Oh, I mean,
Like
yeah.
her performance
Whatever.
specifically stuck out as like really stilted and bad for me.
Yeah, yeah, she wasn't. I don't know. I didn't need her to be a great actress. She did, it felt like a mother who was sending her child off and had the real possibility of possibly never seeing him again. I do feel like that wasn't represented very well,
Yeah.
but I also think that there's part of her that knew she had to make that sacrifice. Like, you got to be strong for Anakin because you're giving him a life that you'll never have, but that's your purpose at the same time, like, he was meant for greatness, and she always kind of knew it, and she said it herself that he had special powers, that he's very adept, he's extremely intelligent, and I think she just kind of knew that this day would always come. And they really glossed over, I thought it was interesting, they glossed over the Immaculate Birth real quick. Like, when I was a kid, I didn't know Anakin didn't have a father. I didn't understand that, like, 3 sentence exchange with Qui-Gon Jinn that they had. It was something that I had to learn later. And rewatching it now, I understand why I didn't know what happened, because she didn't explicitly say that there was no father. She just kind of implied it heavily, to where I understand it now as a 30-year-old, but like as a 9-year-old or however old I was, 10, I didn't understand it then. I just thought, cool, he was born. I didn't
You
I
know
didn't
what's
know.
wild about that though? Like Qui-Gon doesn't even blink when she says that. He's just like, Immaculate Conception. Okay. Moving on.
right. That's like,
Like
it's like nothing. He's like, it's like, oh, that's not surprising. Like, I've come across millions of those. We're fine here.
yeah, yeah. Happens all the time.
Like that. That was pretty bad. And like, I feel like them putting that in there was kind of a misstep, in my opinion. Because like, for them to say that and not to expound upon it in any way other than like side stories and outer outer lore, I thought that was in poor taste.
I could have had more time spent with Anakin
Mm-hmm.
and his training and exploring his force powers, and less time with the Gungans in general,
Yep.
and less time them running through the castle and getting to the Trade Federation, leader. Like, I could have had more time with Anakin in this movie, definitely.
Yeah,
I don't
because it
know.
seemed
Like I
like,
kind of felt like you were saying the second half isn't as strong as the first half, but there's a lot. I think like most of the Gungan interactions happen in the first half. I mean, sans the battle stuff, which was whatever to me.
I consider the second half when they get back to Naboo. That's, I think, that's when it,
Yeah, yeah.
like, so when they get back to Naboo and they start to gather the Gungan forces back together, which I thought that was okay. I thought it was appropriate that Jar Jar was the link that got them back in with the King of Naboo, and then you had that whole, oh my goodness, that switch of the Padme revealing herself, and that, she was a real queen and the other one was just a body double, which, okay, whatever. Um,
Dude, dude, she looks just like Kira Knightley. What are you talking about? You didn't know that?
I, I mean, it's whatever. I didn't understand the need of that, but you know, it exists, so whatever. So that part was fine. The whole battle was kind of weak because I found it strange. And maybe it makes sense, honestly, but I found it strange that all the weapons that the Gungan have are specifically designed against electrical opponents or mechs, right?
Well, all the
They
ones that we see.
Well, I assume that's all the ones that they have.
That's a weird
So,
assumption, but all right.
well, is it though? Because if you were an underwater civilization that was
Yeah.
separate from another advancing civilization on the same planet that used electronics for everything, and if you had no need for that, if you grew separately, would you not develop your weapons to be as impactful to their systems as possible? I.e., those stupid little orbs that Jar Jar can't get his stupid hands around, and he bounces around trying to trying to
Tell me
hold
how you
them.
really feel about Jar
Oh,
Jar.
I hated that. I hate it.
He's
Dude,
awful.
Jar Jar gets demoted. He gets promoted to general after being outcasted, and then immediately makes an ass of himself for 20 minutes. So, whatever. But
So, I mean, like, circling back to your point, though, like, aren't you explaining why their weapons would be that way yourself? Like, regardless of what I think, it sounds like you just explained why their weapons would be that way.
no, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's kind of it's weird, but it also makes sense, right? It's convenient. It's convenient to the plot that the Gungans had weapons which were specifically designed to disable electrical enemies, anything
Yeah, but
electrical, really.
but
But
we
yes,
don't
it
know that that's the case. Like, that could just be a fortuitous side effect of those weapons. You know what I mean? Like, maybe if you
no, I
hurl
think
it
they
at a
were
fish, it just kills the fish, but, like, it
they
also
were holding
happens
it.
to.
I don't know because they were holding it with their bare hands.
Yeah, so it doesn't affect them as Gungans, but, like, maybe if you hurl it at that big fucking fish that tried to eat, that ship earlier in the movie, it would, kill him too. I don't know. Maybe it, like, eats through that fish's skin or something. Whatever.
I don't believe so, but I do know that there's probably not a lot of information out there about it. It's just accepted. So, I mean, regardless of what it is, the Gungans were available
Sure.
to fight. I think
Sure.
that, and
Didn't you
I,
learn by now that, like, there's always a ton of information when it comes to Star Wars? Like, of course
Oh
there's something out
well,
there that tells you
God.
exactly how they work.
this
Don't
episode
do it.
taught me there's always a bigger fish, definitely, and
There's
the same
always a
fish
bigger fish.
twice.
So,
That
here you go.
giant salamander
The
monster.
Booma that you're referring to
Oh, Jesus
consists
Christ.
of a blue plasma from the depths of Naboo's oceanic core, pressurized and forced into a shell that would burst if thrown hard enough. It was very effective against droids and vehicles because the plasma was electrified and has the properties of an EMP weapon.
All right.
Okay, so the
It could
assumption is
it could also burn biological material. Drop the mic. I'm done. This is a great episode, everybody. I'll see myself out.
I
Good
thought it was
God.
dumb, first of all, that they're like, we have to go through the planet's core. What? What are you talking about, planet's core? Why? They made such
Uh,
a big deal about traveling through the planet's core that was oceanic and needing to get back to the main city of Naboo to escape with the queen. That was dumb that they even brought that up. You could have just said they had to travel through the ocean or something.
no,
I think the
it's the fact that they're
implication is that,
Gungans. The Gungans are
yeah,
stupid.
but
That's the implication. That's what it is.
no, I think the implication is that the main city of the Naboo was on the other side of the planet, so it's the fastest ways to go through the core. And they're an underwater species, so they have ships. You just swim through the center of the core and
I
you
don't
come out the
care
other side.
what kind. All right, well, I'm about to insert some real here. I don't care what type of ship you
Okay.
have.
Uh-huh.
You're not going through a core of a planet without being fucking destroyed.
Oh,
The
oh, oh.
pressures involved with being the pressures involved at the center of a planet that had if the water reached all the way down to the center of the planet itself, the pressures involved, you would hit a point to where the water would literally just turn into ice and be compressed further into another type of form of water, like denser ice. I don't know what it would be, what would be denser than that, but I'm sure it could crystallize denser. So it's bullshit. All
Are
right,
you
they
trying
didn't
to
go
bring
through the
logic?
core. They just went around it.
So
Are
let
you
me
are you,
so let me
are you
drop
trying
some
to bring
knowledge on you real
logic
quick.
into a
This is
sci-fi movie?
imaginary.
Like
He can say
I'm just
whatever he
saying.
wants, dude.
I just wanted to
I'm
complain
telling
about
you.
something.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
They didn't go through the
Just
core.
wanted to
The
complain
Gungans
about
are
something.
idiots, and they thought it was the core. They just went to the depths of the ocean, and they saw the same salamander twice.
It's fine. At least we agree on one thing, that the Gungans are idiots. Like, I'm okay with that. Like, this whole episode could like mean nothing to me other than the fact that we all agree on that.
Why do they need to capture air in their underground cities? Are they not aquatic animals?
Just,
Why do they
I
need
mean,
cities that have air bubbles and stuff?
why do frogs need to breathe? Is that what you're asking right now?
No, no,
You could be,
don't bring
dude,
that here.
they could
No.
just be like amphibious creatures. They don't
So
have
why
to
not
breathe
build
water.
So why build cities underwater, dude? That's so much more complicated than just building some mud huts on the coast.
Are you trying to tell me that if you didn't, like, you absolutely didn't want to be found by, I don't know, the US government, that if you could build a city to sustain yourself underwater, that would not be the absolute best place to hide?
I think that it if you immediately had the means to do it, sure, but they had to research the means to do it, which means that they had to devote time and effort in decades, probably maybe millennia, to develop the technology to do it, other than just make technology to live comfortably on the surface of the planet.
So
Why would they need to hide themselves? They've always lived in peace, according to Padme. They've never had any conflict between the species.
that explains why they fucking hate the Naboo, dude. Just because Padme was like, we've always lived in peace. The Gungans are over there, yeah, motherfucker, because we hid ourselves in the ocean to get away from you.
I don't see how that would last. You don't get as technologically advanced as the Naboo does without polluting a little bit of the ocean, and that would have to piss off the Gungans at some point.
Maybe that's why they're so mad. The
I
Naboo's
don't
over here
disagree with
like,
you. Yeah,
I don't know what your problem is, man. They're like, look at what you did to my fucking ocean. My garden over there is dead because you keep dumping oil in my backyard, you mother.
well, I'm glad they made up and they had their epic field battle, which realistically, with all the droids that are apparently represented in the movie, they should have been completely swamped and annihilated, but they weren't
Can,
because
can we just
those
take a
droids are
second?
useless.
Can we just take a second and appreciate how in the last episode we were wondering what the creatures we would be talking shit on in this episode would be? But as it turns out, the sand people are also in this movie.
Dude, they're assholes too. Why are they shooting at the
They're
pods?
such douchebags, dude. They're so much
wanna-
worse than they were in the original trilogy.
You want to know what's really, really funny is like I remember the sound and yell that they make not from the movies, but from the Star Wars video games I played.
Yeah,
Like
you
it
do.
was, I literally like I heard the start of it and I finished it like with my fiance on the phone with work and Isaac sitting there and they both look at me. I was like, "What the hell is wrong with you?" I was like, "Dude, you don't know what that sounds like? Come on, how do you not know what the sand people sound like?" And I did
That's
it perfectly.
that second scene with the same people, and then when they actually took out one of the pod racers,
Absolutely
they were
destroyed.
so
They
they
they were stoked and they legit murdered that guy. That
They were
guy's
so-
dead, dude.
they were
Raising
so
the
happy
rifle in
with
the air,
themselves.
just like, "Oh my god, yes, we're the best."
They were probably just
so-
practice shooting, like they were just
God.
fucking around. Like
Yeah. Sand
Tusken
people
Raiders
the
are
worst.
assholes.
Oh
There's a
man,
random cameo by the Jawas too.
Oh, with them just looking at like a real quick edit with them just watching them fly by.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
kind of cute.
I saw that. I was like, these mofos are always looking to make a quick steal.
They're waiting.
Mhm.
Like they paid off the sand people to shoot them down so they could go steal the pod pieces.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past them. Yeah,
Oh,
knowing Jawas,
speak-
Jawas know only money.
especially knowing Jawas after the Mandalorian, which really goes into them a lot more than any other piece of Star Wars media. Like
That's true.
Jawas will do anything to get some parts and some money.
True.
God bless them, little monsters.
So speaking of quick cameos during the pod race, I noticed
Warwick
during a free.
Davis?
Yeah, 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 yeah. That guy. Wow.
Yeah,
Wait,
dude.
what?
Uh,
Wait, what?
Warwick. So like when they're during the pod race, they cut a couple of times to Watto watching the race in the stands, and Warwick Davis is sitting right next to him like he's his buddy.
yep, with the same
Oh, what?
hairstyle that he had in The Willow. Like
Yeah,
that movie was
Oh
childhood fuel
shit!
right there. Yeah, it was amazing. And he was also in, I think it was episode 4. Like he
6.
was actually 6,
He's a
yeah.
well, I mean, he might be in 4, but he's like the lead Ewok.
Yeah, I figured as much. I
He's in
mean,
6. Yeah.
I'm glad he got the role of playing the Leprechaun in like all the Leprechaun horror movies and like totally screwing over all of my sleep. Except for Leprechaun in the Hood, that movie was a travesty. Like we're not gonna talk about that. How did you guys feel about the huts and the pod racing?
First of all, was that Jabba's wife?
Yo, I
I
wrote
don't
that down
know.
too.
I don't
There
know.
was a what looked like a female hut.
Yeah,
A little side squeeze, right?
No.
I know, man. Like, there's another hut there for sure. It looked like a female hut, but then, like, the longer it goes on, when it cuts back to him, I was like, maybe that's just a really fat hut too. I'm not really
I
sure.
think
He's
it
got
was.
some hut boobs
I
going
think.
on.
I think. I mean, how can you tell? Every roll of Jabba looks like a new boob.
Yeah, Jabba the Hutt claims he has no wife.
I wouldn't be surprised.
But yeah, that just I
He's
thought
a
that was
looker.
like I thought that was another hut like Jabba's son or like osmosis made offspring, something.
Yeah,
Oh, actually, we do know who that hut is. That's
of course.
Gardula the Hut. It is a female hut. That's the hut that used to own Shmi and Anakin before they lost them to
Oh yeah,
Watto.
yeah, he did mention that. Yeah,
Yeah,
Watto did mention that.
and that's
Really?
who that is.
Yeah,
So are they just like chilling? Like, are they just,
they're just chilling.
gonna go see the pod races together and hang out, or? All
I
right.
mean, what are you asking? Like they're both
Yeah.
huts. Like they're just
I don't know.
watching the pod races. Like
Yeah,
also like I love how at the end of the race, Jabba's just asleep.
yeah.
Like
He's like, wakes up,
just been knocked out. Like wake me
like
up when it's over, man.
like one of the most exciting races that I've seen, and he's like, oh, we're done. Oh, all right, cool.
Yeah, yeah. He's like, oh, okay, I guess
Yeah.
it's over. Like he
Is
doesn't
anybody
even
else?
care.
Yeah. Is anybody else mad that Sebulba didn't die when his pod blew up?
No, I love Sebulba, dude.
I mean, I love him in the games, and I use his pod ridiculously.
Yeah.
But in the movie, nah, he should have died. He was going way too fast, and his driver's seat capsule just slides to a gradual stop, and he's fine.
Hold
Like,
on.
screw you.
Hold on. You telling me like you're gonna call that out, but when Anakin is literally doing flippies in the middle of the race and
Yep.
doesn't get flung out of
Yep.
that cabin, you're cool with that?
Because he's strapped in.
Oh, get the fuck out of here, dude.
Dude, he's straight strapped in. No, he's strapped into the pod, full Velcro belts all around. He got the 3-point belt maneuver on.
Dude,
like he was fine.
He's not even phased by the fact that he's doing like
He should have
crazy
been-
spins.
He should have been ejected out of that pod.
Nah, you
Like,
guys are
even
crazy.
Even if I accept that that seatbelt was strong enough to hold him, which I'm not convinced it is, but let's just say that it is, he would at the very least be dizzy as shit from doing that. Him being able to like recenter himself and like get the fucking whatever the side thing that he's trying to reconnected.
Oh, that that was fun. That was
which is conveniently right next to his seat.
Yeah, he did that so calmly. He's like, "Oh yeah, I got this tool ready and waiting for that." Magnetic clicked on there, and we're good. Let's go. We're fine.
And then right after that happens, he zips past like 3 guys and gets right back up. I was like, man, if you could go that fast, why weren't you doing that from the beginning?
I don't know, but no, like there's a lot of things about the pod race in general that like don't make sense, but it was still one of the best features of the movie, and made one of the best N64 video games that is a part of my childhood. So
Hell yes.
yeah, like I
I
remember the sound of Sebulba's pod from the game.
Such an incredible sound design. All the pods sounded different and they were super
Yep.
awesome.
I remember like the different designs. I was like, oh, that's the first pod that you start off with. That's crap. And then like the ones that you lead up to, I was like, wow. Yeah, it was so good. Like, I don't know why people hated on the prequels as much as they do, just because like they maybe were Star Wars fanboys and it wasn't what they envisioned. But the prequels were good, like with how much action that they had in there, without like diverting from the main story plotline, which is really hard to do, especially with such a beloved franchise. They did something new with a beloved franchise and told a different story well. Like a lot of movies that do prequels do not do prequels well. They do not know how to tell a different story that ties in with the original story. They just like basically have to play off fan service and like basically be like, okay, this is something that ties into the original movie, like throughout the whole movie, instead of like, here's a story, a standalone story by itself that you could watch, and then at the end it's like, this is how it ties into the original, or little Easter eggs of how it ties into the original movie. Something that's clever, not just like ham-fisted to get money. You know what I mean?
You know what struck me as like really unbelievable in this movie though? How quickly Padme changes outfits.
Yeah.
And how
You
often.
you know what? No, we're getting into it. All right, when are we gonna set the timer for Padme's pedometer? Like, when are we setting that timer?
It's real
Like,
weird, dude. It
Well,
happens.
hold on. Like
It,
in this movie, she just kind of, to me, kind of acts like an older sister type of per figure to Anakin. Anakin's clearly smitten, but she's just kind of
you're
like,
making
oh,
it worse.
I, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how I'm making it worse. Like that's just how I read the scene. Like forgetting what comes later, because we can certainly have the pedo discussion later. But in this movie, Anakin is clearly smitten with Padme, but like she doesn't do anything that would suggest that she's into Anakin. It's just like, oh, like you're a cute little boy.
No,
I
no, no,
don't
no, no.
know.
No. Okay, look. I agree with you that Anakin was smitten with Padme. That is ridiculously obvious with how smooth his first line of meeting her is. Like, if a
Are you
grown
with
man
Rachel?
if a grown man came at her like that, she would have been creeped out and disgusted, or depending on how good looking he was, been totally smitten as well. So I give kudos to Anakin for having game at his age. What
So let me,
I'm
John, let me ask you this question
Yeah.
before you go on. How old do you
Uh-huh.
think Padme is in this movie?
I remember when I first watched this and then watched the subsequent movies, I Googled it.
Uh
And
huh.
if I remember correctly, she is 16 or 17 and Anakin is 8 or 9.
So Anakin's 9 and
Okay.
she is 14.
Okay.
So like first of all, by definition she's not a pedophile, but
Okay.
they're sort of close. I mean like 9 and 14 is a far cry from each other. Like there's a lot of development that happens during that time. I'm not going to defend it,
True.
but like it's not like she's 18 and she's kind of macking on a 9-year-old.
Yeah, I get it.
It well,
It just seems really
it
weird.
it feels that way because Keira Knightley is in her 20s at that point, and she doesn't look like a 14-year-old.
You mean
Is it not Keira Knightley? Did I say that wrong?
Keira Knightley's
Natalie
her body
Portman.
double.
Natalie
Natalie Portman.
Portman.
Natalie
You
Sorry.
Portman's
want to
19 in this movie.
know the worst part? The worst part is like that age difference is me and Kim right now. That's the age difference between me and Kim.
It's weird though. Like I remember when I was 14, I was in 7th grade, and I was not thinking about 3rd or 4th graders. I can tell you that. Um, that was the last thing on my mind. So
Yeah.
it's just kind of
So
weird.
since we're just diving into this at this point, I decided to look it up. So during the course of the Phantom Menace, Anakin is 9, she's 14. He actually turns 10 during the film, but whatever, it doesn't matter. By the time that they meet up again and they actually get into a relationship, he's 19 and she's 24.
All
So
right.
it's
That's
really,
the second episode.
yeah,
That's
that's
episode
episode
2.
2.
Yeah.
So it's really no big deal.
It's not that bad. I blew it out of proportion. I'll admit that. It just seemed really weird to me because like how old was Natalie Portman during that? Like she was
She was
like
19 in this movie.
okay. And then the boy like was around basically the age of his character or like maybe
I
like 10.
think he was like 10 or something like that, yeah.
Yeah. That's what I was going off of in like the dynamic that was. It just seemed like a boyhood crush and she just was playing into it during episode 2, but now that you gave like listed out how old they were, I understand. I kind of like went off the rails a little bit, reeling it back.
I kind of lost my shit. It's okay.
But I'm just saying. Just
Well,
saying.
I mean, I think it's an important conversation to have too, though, because you're not the only person who thinks that, and
Yeah.
it's really common, and I think it's common because of exactly what you were just talking about. Like Natalie Portman was much older, relatively speaking, than her
Mm-hmm.
character was in the movie, so it's
Mm-hmm.
weird for a 19-year-old and a 9-year-old to have anything between them, much less something that turns into a real relationship
It's
after a
jarring.
few years later in the next movie.
Yeah, and also like the fact that when you meet Natalie Portman as Queen Amidala, she is very regal. Like you think that she was an adult, she's been doing this for years, and you are blown away that she's actually 14.
Hmm.
Like even 14-year-old like princesses and princes that are breeded to do this like since birth do not act as regal as she did. She's just standing there talking mess to the Trade Federation, very quick with her comebacks, and held all of her stuff together. She didn't fly off the handle. She wasn't very emotional at all. She didn't show very much emotion, period, throughout the whole movie. Very regal, had an
Yeah.
air of authority about her. And for her to be 14, like looks and acting wise in the role, she seemed a lot older than she was.
Yes. Something, you know what else stood out to me since we're kind of like sort of talking about the Senate and all that again?
Mm-hmm.
Did anybody else notice when they came in talking about how Palpatine was nominated for Supreme Chancellor, how the other person who was nominated for Supreme Chancellor was Bail Antilles?
What?
Yeah. I read that. I thought it was awesome.
So I was struck by that for two reasons. One, is this dude related to Bail Organa? And two, is he related to Wedge Antilles?
I think Wedge and Tilly's right in some way,
And
maybe. I'm sure there's a backstory for it.
Of course there is.
I don't think that they would throw out the name Antilles for no reason. I think that they specifically were alluding to it was in some relation to Wedge.
he's not. He's in no way related to Wedge.
Well, then it was a redirect then or misdirect.
However, he is related to Bail Organa.
by first name? What?
Oh my god, dude. He's
Ugh.
he's like brother-in-law to Bail Organa. Like, what are the odds of that, dude?
Whatever. Okay.
Pretty
Sure.
slim. Pretty slim.
Sure.
It's just so weird, dude. Like, why would you name this character Bail Antilles? I mean, obviously it was supposed to be like a throwback to Wedge Antilles, but
hmm
and Bail Organa as things would turn out, but like, why would you do that? I don't. Like, apparently, he's in the royal house of Antilles, and Wedge is a commoner whose name just happens to be
Antilles,
Antilles.
yeah.
You know, bro, you know what I didn't like? The beginning of this movie when like Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon are on the ship to settle the trade dispute or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Did anybody else notice when the droid decals like first show up, they whip out of scene like they're the fucking Flash all of a sudden? Dude, it is I have to see if I can find this clip. It's so insane.
So, okay, sorry, I was muted for a second. So,
You're fine.
I made a note of that, Dean. I noticed it
You
too.
did?
They like force ran to their left and to
That's
avoid
generous.
them. Once they Qui-Gon Jinn goes, "Oh, we're in a stalemate," and then they just shot over immediately. I thought it was them using like a force run or force speed or something stupid like that, like some explanation for it.
Dude, that is the craziest shit. Oh my god.
They just they're a blur.
It's so ridiculous.
They have shield
It's
generators.
like it's they never
Yeah.
bring this up as a force power ever.
Well, no, force speed is a power, so that's a
Yeah.
known power. But that was
A known
like
power in what?
it's.
Just
I've just always known it to be a force power. That like force speed, like you can use the force to increase your speed in general situations. Like you can use the force to jump higher, right?
Okay, that's decidedly different than this.
Well, no, this looks like they were the Flash. It's super jarring.
it's just
and,
out of
and, like,
nowhere.
it's most jarring because like they don't say anything about it. It just happens.
Yeah.
They never bring it up. They never explain it.
No, the
Yeah.
best part is like on the wiki, that picture of them force blurring from the droid decals is what's on the canon part. Yeah.
It's so ridiculous, dude. Like that's I'm looking at it because you just linked it or whatever, but that's literally all it says.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, this article was written with Legends information to try and make sense of this nonsense,
Yep.
which to me says this was probably a bad cut that they couldn't fix any other way. And then later somebody made an explanation for it.
I think you're right. I definitely think that you're right. It was a weird cut. They thought that the edit would hide it, and later they just had to find a way to justify it.
I mean,
It
in their
was
defense, it hit it for me for like 20 years. Like, I never
s-
noticed this before yesterday.
You're right. This was the first time I saw it rewatching episode 1 now. I noticed it.
mhm. Just
That
so
shit was the
awkward.
craziest
It was
thing I've
weird.
ever
So
seen.
random.
I also love that the Obi-Wan force push meme, like remember like a year or two ago that was so prevalent. Like it was just
Yeah.
it was Obi-Wan pushing those droids when they come out of the room for the first time, and that was like
Mhm.
such a huge meme for like a month or two. It was good. It was just good to see the source material again.
Speaking of Obi-Wan, old Obi-Wan kind of sucks, dude. Like, compared to this Obi-Wan?
Dude, did you catch his jab at Anakin when Anakin came back on the ship after they had won the pod race? He's like, hold on, I wrote it down. Where is it? Oh, he was talking to Qui-Gon. He's like, I fear we've
Mhm.
picked up another pathetic
Yeah.
life form.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like, you dick. Such an
If you
ass.
only knew. Oh, if you only knew, Obi-Wan.
Yep.
Yeah, really.
Oh,
It was
God.
kind of cool that moment that they have when he brings them onto the ship and they meet for the first time. Like when you knowing their history, that's a cool little moment.
Yeah.
Especially because Obi-Wan's just kind of like, sup.
How you doing?
He doesn't even say anything to him. He just kind of smiles in his direction.
I don't know. It just seemed like kind of weird to me that Qui-Gon just latched on so quickly to Anakin. Like, yeah, I would have been more impressed with Anakin on the fact like he's just building just insane stuff at his age.
Hmm.
Like that no one that I like grown men probably go to school and space college for, and just building droids in his spare time and a pod while being a slave. Like, that would have surprised the crap out of me. But like, I would have never like thought it was like, I mean, he's intelligent, he's got engineering capabilities, but the Force, I never would have made that leap. You know what I mean?
Mm, mm. Yeah, I'm not really sure what made him do that, except like he feels the force in this boy or whatever.
I mean,
Yeah.
Anakin brings up specifically that he's the only human that can pod race. So I think that was a big red flag for Qui-Gon to just kind of notice him a little bit more and just kind of test him, because at the dinner table he was kind of testing him a little bit with his questions.
Mm.
And you see this when he responds. He's like, "Oh, there's nothing getting past you. Okay, well, we're going to Coruscant." And he eventually tells him what they're doing, and then he's then proven right when he does the midichlorian count, which I don't know how his little device not only took a blood sample but then interfaced immediately with it and then sent it wirelessly to Obi-Wan for him to review midichlorian counts on a ship.
Don't go
Oh,
into it. It's
easy, dude.
fine. It's okay.
It's
Nope.
imaginary. They can do whatever they want. More importantly,
Oh, never
more
mind.
importantly,
God
how do
damn it.
you all feel about midichlorians? Especially you, Jordan, because I know we talked about it briefly a couple of episodes ago, and you didn't
I've
even understand how they work. So,
I've found a way to justify their existence now. I found a way that makes sense
Okay,
to
let's
me.
go with it. Let's start this.
Well,
found a
so
way to justify their. Okay, go on.
so in the first movie they explain that they're tiny living creatures that live within all cells, and Qui-Gon specifically says they're the reason for all life, and without them our connection to the Force would be lost, or something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing a little bit.
Yeah, I mean it's
So
not quite right, but your point is made.
yeah, so what I'm envisioning them being are, and I believe I've said this in another podcast, but they're they're like the they're like the powerhouse of the cell, the mitochondria, right?
Yeah.
Where mitochondria originally in the development of multicellular organisms was its own single-celled organism, but then they just combined together. So I think that the midichlorians were once a single-celled organism who were for some reason connected to the Force, which at this point is still kind of unexplained. It's this inexplicable connection to everything. So the midichlorians channel this for some reason. They are living in a symbiotic relationship with all life forms cells, whatever that means. So they just are inside of all of these cells. They replicate along with the other cells, and they do something. I don't know what they do for non-force sensitive creatures. I think they just exist, and they provide no bonus. They just are there. But for those organisms or those creatures which are force adept, they find a way to quote unquote listen to them because they talk to them. I think that's just I think that can be interpreted to the midichlorians in the cells within your brains, like within your neurons and within the other cells that make up your head or your brain or whatever it is, your spinal system, nervous system. They influence your decisions in a way which can be interpreted to quote unquote listening or reading the Force. But the Force, I think, is still largely unexplained, and I think will always go unexplained. That's kind of like an ethereal field that just kind of exists and has a will of its own. I don't think there's ever been a perfect explanation of that, because it's kind of like a deity. It's kind of godlike, but I think that midichlorians are a good real world explanation of that. The Force is tactile, it's measurable, it's something that exists, and for some reason the only thing that can channel it or understand it or tap into it are these single-celled organisms which have just been placed within all living life, all living organisms in the galaxy, and you either know how to channel them or you don't know how to channel them. So that's how I've justified all of that mess, and that's how I understand it to be. But maybe it goes a little bit further, and I'm just a little bit ignorant as to the real way the Force is supposed to work. But like 10-year-old me thought the Force was just little tiny creatures that were inside of everybody, and they're just like literally whispering in your ear. Like that's how I understood it 20 years ago. Now, and now being 30, now I understand it a little bit more intricately. I think they did their best to explain the physical connection to the Force, but they didn't need to do that. Like they didn't need to go out of their way to explain what midichlorians were. George Lucas didn't never needed to explain that. His device that they had could have just said, "This reads the Force. What's the Force? It's something that's read by this device." That's all they needed to say. They didn't need to go into midichlorians and introduce the entire physical aspect of channeling the Force. They could have just said, "Oh, people just use the Force," and they could have just left it with that, because um, plenty of other series and franchises have this mythical energy, or ki is popular in animes, and no one explains there are little cells in every DBZ character that can channel the ki and use it for force blasts or whatever. It's just something that's there, and you learn how to use it or not. So that's my
Yeah,
rant. That's all. That's all I have to say about it.
yeah, and I agree with you on the last part, because for me as a whole, adding the midichlorians and trying to explain like what's going on, I feel it's another misstep.
I don't think it added
Um,
anything. If anything, it
it didn't.
distracted. It
It
distracted.
it it distracted, and
Yeah,
it
I
added
agree.
more confusion.
Yep.
And like if they would have just like gone with the way that they do with like ki or chi, to where like some people are adept at focusing it or can be taught to be adept at focusing it, but the force, like controlling the force, is a more special intuitive nature that you need, that would have been better. Or just left it like obtuse and let people speculate about it, because adding midichlorians into it is just not worth it. It didn't bring anything, because like they didn't expound upon it, they didn't go any further detail about it, because they know that they made a mistake, in my
And
opinion.
and you see how far I had to go to explain it, right? Like how
Yes,
much effort did I have to put
exactly.
into that explanation, when I should have just
Just
had
to
to have
try and make
said
sense of it.
I should have just had to have said, "Oh, they just know how to channel the Force." Well, what's the Force? It's whatever. It doesn't matter. It's the Force.
Yeah,
You don't
they're just
ask anime characters how they channel chi. They just do it. And you either learn to do it or you don't. And that's all that a franchise really needs. You don't need the nitty-gritty.
yeah, it's like too much exposition or trying to make sense of everything can actually uh destroy a story's lore and like break the world building that you've already started.
I always remember that was a really big thing that my friends and I debated about, like what the Force really is. And we always would shit on the midichlorians explanation, to the
Yep.
point to where I just never understood it to be my own canon. I just thought that, well, they just screwed that up, and I'm just going to
Mm-hmm.
ignore it, and the Force is just going to be this ethereal, natural um, layer of the universe that just exists alongside the other natural forces. And it just that the Jedi just channel it. It's not microscopic creatures like episode 1 said. They're just wrong. But I've come around to finding a weird way to explain it. And it makes sense to me, but I shouldn't have had to have done that. What do you think, Dean? You've been quiet.
I mean, I just wanted to hear what you guys had to say because, well, I think you guys make some great points. I think at the end of the day, midichlorians really depends on your perspective. And what I mean by that is if you only care about these movies and what's in the movies, everything that you guys said is totally valid and correct. However, if you're into the nitty-gritty super nerdy shit that goes on in the background of Star Wars, in the books and the comics and the TV shows,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, there's a lot of really deep, interesting meaning and for why the midichlorians have value as a storytelling device that you never get in the movies. So if that's interesting to you, then the midichlorians are awesome. But if it's not, then the midichlorians are really stupid.
Yeah, and like I think that's the main point that we're trying to make here, is like you introduce it in the movies And like me myself, I actually do delve into like existential third party sources to like figure out stuff that I'm curious about. But at the end of the day, when you have a franchise as big as Star Wars and you introduce something as obtuse and just out of left field as midichlorians after so much time of a beloved franchise has passed, like hit you need to like hit a grand slam with that addition or just not introduce it at all. Like I get that there's third party sources and added lore onto it that make them worthwhile, but if we're like again talking about the movies and our movie going experience and like us watching the movies, like yeah, I hold true to the fact that that was a huge misstep on there.
I don't think that it's a misstep. Like for me, when I watch that movie and Qui-Gon takes like the blood sample and all that, and he explains what midichlorians are, I'm like, oh, okay. So the Force is this big cosmic unknown, but we channel it through these little cells called midichlorians in the body, which you either have a ton of or you don't. Makes sense. That explains why some people are force sensitive and other people aren't, instead of just because you happen to be born lucky with the ability to channel the force or not. It's like a reasonable explanation as to why some people are force sensitive. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I will say that if you dive into the nitty gritty of midichlorians and shit, what I just said is actually totally incorrect. But like, if you just watch it at face value in the movie, that's what I take away from it, and it makes sense to me, at least. I don't think it's a misstep. I don't know that it was necessary, but I also don't hate it in any way. I think it was an interesting little extra detail that he threw in there to kind of explain how Jedi and Sith can even do what they do.
I think it was more of an addition to show how important slash powerful Anakin was from such a young age. Because like they basically was like, okay, his midichlorian level is this high, and then it's like, oh, that's higher than Yoda. And anybody who's watched Star Wars knows Yoda is like a master, but honestly, you never see him really do his thing until later on. But they're basically saying like one of the highest ranking and most beloved of the Jedi's, this boy has more midichlorians, a higher power level than Yoda. This is crazy. Like you're supposed to get excited about that fact.
It's
You know
about
what's
as
you know what's weird about that though? Like in this whole movie, I notice they don't really tell you anything about Yoda. So the fact that he's like, that's higher than Master Yoda doesn't actually mean anything to you if you just
Mm-hmm.
watch this movie in a
By itself, yep.
vacuum. Even if you watch the original trilogy and then watch this one, as far as you know, Yoda's just another Jedi. We don't know that there's anything particularly special about Yoda in this movie. So like I guess the implication is, oh, that's higher than Master Yoda, who has more than everybody else, but like you don't know that. You have no basis for comparison.
Yeah.
And they never give you one either, by the way. They're like, well, he has 20,000, which is higher than everybody else. Okay, but like, what does everybody else have? Like, how much higher are we talking about? Are we talking about like 19,999 to 20,000? Or are we talking like 5 to 20,000? Like, what?
Yeah.
Give me
Once again,
something.
like in once again, introducing this just adds more questions, and you don't have a good comparative scale. Like you can't do any real analysis on like what the information you've been given. It's like it doesn't give you anything to compare it to make you like go, oh wow, that's amazing. Holy crap. Like again, going back to like anime, like when they do power scaling, they give you a bunch of characters, especially when they introduce it. They give you characters to be like, okay, this guy's this powerful, this guy's this powerful, and then this guy, holy crap, just jumped in power level to this. Yes, they screw it up a lot of times, but at least they give you something to compare to so you have like a scale to go by to be like, okay, I understand why this guy is beating the crap out of this other guy now.
To be fair, though, we're not talking about power scaling. Um, midichlorians just kind of channel the force through you. The force is the force. So like we're not talking that Anakin is more powerful than Yoda. I don't even know if that's true or not. It might be, but I don't know.
It's
But
just
my point is, like, to compare this to the way that, like, I don't know, Super Saiyan power levels work or something like
Nope.
that, like, it's
Don't
not
do it.
apples and
Nope.
apples to apples, like,
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
this is a totally different thing.
Yeah, I get what you're saying because like it's more Anakin in theory should be able to attune and channel the Force better than Yoda with training because he starts at a better base level. Like
has a
I
higher
get that.
potential.
Higher potential. Yes.
Right.
Oh my
It
god,
it would be
Pokemon just
like
came back.
if, Tony Stark got stuck in that cave with all the pieces for Iron Man right before him, and all he had to do was assemble it versus having to
Mhm.
figure out how to, make armor from nothing. Like, he has a stronger basis to start his, project, essentially.
Yes.
Um, that said, though, one of the things that's interesting about midichlorians, if you do delve into that extra detail from the side stories and stuff, is that they're actually like the connection that sentient beings have between the living force and the cosmic force, which they actually bring up the living force several times, and they never really explain to you what the fuck that means, except in these like side stories and stuff. They're like, well, they call it the living force because there's also a cosmic force, and midichlorians kind of bridge that gap and things like that. So my point is just that, like, it creates a really interesting amount of depth to the Star Wars universe. It's not super superficial, which, to be honest, is kind of what it sounds like you guys are advocating for. It's like the Force is just it's ethereal. It just is whatever it is. I don't want to know anything else about it. I'm more the kind who wants to know more about it. And if introducing midichlorians is how we get there, then so be it. Um, but I think that the fact that they never bring it up again in the movies is good, just because, like, it's there. You know that. All you have to do is watch episode 1, you know that, it's in the back of your mind, forget it. Like, you have one little extra piece of information about the Force. But if you wanna read, like, all these books and everything, that little piece of extra information can turn into a wealth of information about how the universe of Star Wars even works and functions on a really basic level, which is really cool. So
I mean,
that's
I'll have to look into it because
Yeah, I'll definitely have to like look into that extra lore information because like that's what I mean. Like you bring it up and then forget about it. It's like I'm okay with them expounding upon the force and what it actually is. Like I actually love when like you're giving me world building information that just creates everything and it ties together so well. Like that's actually why a lot of the media that I enjoy to rewatch, like I applaud it for that because it does that so well. It does exposition so well. What I'm saying is if you're going to give me a key piece of information like a building block for this lore, you need to come correct with it or not bring it at all. Like straight up. Like there's no point of you giving me that information and not expounding upon it in a meaningful way, giving me that information and it not really leading to anything and then doing nothing with it afterwards. That's my problem.
so speaking of using the Force, something I didn't actually notice was Qui-Gon used the Force when he first met the Gungan King. I didn't realize that.
What he tried to use it on the Gungan King?
He did use it. No, he successfully used it because he was like, he said, "All right, you're going to let us go, and then you're going to provide us with transport to get to where we need to go." And that's why the king let them use that ship. It's super subtle, but you'll notice him moving his hand and then influencing the king with his two questions that he asks.
Hmm.
I thought that was
That is pretty
real
cool.
sly. Yeah, it's
That
it's
is
really subtle.
yeah, he tries to do that a lot. I mean, it's more.
He tried to do
It's
it
more. Yeah,
against
it's more obvious with Watu, but
yeah, and
like,
he couldn't. He couldn't
yeah.
actually, which I thought I find it interesting that they always struggle Jedi to influence those scoundrel characters, right? Like the Hutts in Watu, ones that are so intently focused on their own self-preservation and just money, like they really have a tough time Force influencing them.
Well, I mean, I think it's a way of balancing the Force because, like, if you're able to do that to anybody at any time with no real like barrier or no real like stopgap measure, like no offense, Jedi's would just probably have gone insane and just ruled the freaking galaxy for no reason. I mean, technically that's what the Sith did. But yeah, like there has to be a way that to combat against that, or like it would just be an all-encompassing power that no one would be able to withstand. I think that's why the Sith had to rely more on subterfuge and manipulation than anything else, showing that manipulating the will of man
Hmm.
through sly measures instead of like a heavy-handed like force into manipulation
Hmm.
was the better route to go. And I think that's why the Jedi's were caught off guard, because I feel like they were too comfortable in their seat of power, in their Peace Corps position, and didn't find any real opposition that they needed to worry about because they had the Force on their side.
They didn't
Because they
believe.
felt,
I mean, they didn't believe Qui-Gon when he first came. He said that he was trained in the Jedi arts, is how they described it,
mm-hmm.
and they were worried that they could be Sith. And originally, um, they just didn't believe it. Mace Windu didn't believe it. He said that's impossible. It's like, well, I mean, they're there. They quickly changed their tune, of course, once they're attacked formally by Darth Maul on Tatooine, which is a fun little fight. And I want that damn Sith speeder that he has. It looks like fun as hell to
Yeah.
ride.
Dude, that's pretty freaking awesome. Like I will say I applaud episode 1 for giving us just like the obligatory overarching menacing shadowy villain that didn't need any real backstory, that didn't need any real explanation, that just looked imposing, and like you knew he was coming for you. Like we as the viewer knew that he was coming to get them, and that it was just an amazing reveal for him. Short lived it may have been, but he's like why everybody loved Darth Maul so much. Like the lightsaber fight was good, but the fact that he was just this shadowy figure that was always haunting you, coming for the protagonist, and they had no idea like he was gonna be a Sith. Like he had Jedi powers that he could match them blow for blow.
Dude, Darth Maul sucks.
Excuse me.
What?
Darth Maul looks cool, but he sucks. He's a terrible character. He shows
One more time.
up. He shows up. No explanations given, like you were saying.
Doesn't even.
He's just apprentice to Sidious,
Mm-hmm.
and he dies.
Yeah.
The most
Yeah.
meaningful thing that he does is he kills Qui-Gon Jinn, but like as a character, he's just a terrible character.
He doesn't
No.
need to have any more than what he already has.
He
Thank
he
you.
is just like Boba Fett. He
No.
is the
No.
same
You take
thing. He's
take
the
that
same
back
thing.
right now, or I am leaving.
Dude, I'll give you, he looks cool as shit. The dual lightsaber is cool as shit, but he's just as bad as Boba. He's actually kind of worse than Boba Fett because
No, he's not.
at least Boba Fett has multiple movies to do a couple of things. He's dead at the end of this one.
A couple of things. Boba Fett says one line and like someone else does all his work for him. All he has to do is transport a slab of metal across the galaxy to Jabba the Hutt and get paid.
Bro,
That's
what are
all
you-
he does. And
what are
then
you
he
talking
gets
about?
hit in the jetpack and then dropped into a pit of teeth and dies. And you're
Bro,
saying that
what are
Darth
you
Maul is
talking about, dude?
No.
Darth Maul says nothing that matters, and he gets killed by an apprentice who does the same thing that gets Anakin nearly killed 2 movies from now. He just stands there and watches it happen.
So
Darth Maul sucks as a
so
character.
I agree that Darth Maul's death was a little convenient. So the fact that Obi-Wan just used the Force to jump over him and then spear him, that was weak and it was lazy, because the choreography throughout that entire fight was incredible, especially
Mhm.
the choreography between Obi-Wan and Darth Maul. The second they start fighting, when that door opens and he's like blocking behind his back, it's so badass. It's so good. So yes, Darth Maul goes out like a bitch, but that's not
Yes.
to the fault of Darth Maul. That's to the fault of those lazy fucking choreographers and writers, because they didn't want to
They
spend more
wrote
time.
themselves
Dude,
into a corner.
Those lazy writers and choreographers are Darth Maul. He's not a real character.
You shut your mouth,
I
Dean.
understand.
Because
I
Darth
understand
Maul did a lot, okay? Darth Maul was expanded on significantly in Clone Wars.
We're not talking about Clone Wars. We're not talking about Rebels or any other shit. We're not talking about the comics. This man is dead in the movie. Well, I mean, I guess he comes back later in Solo, but we're not talking about that either. We're talking about this movie.
No.
So,
in this movie, he shows up as a dark, shadowy figure, just like Boba did.
Oh, God.
He doesn't say anything for a long time. When he does say something, it's just like, yes, master. Whatever you say, master. I got you, master. I'ma do it. Then he goes, fights Qui-Gon, lets him escape in the dumbest way possible because he just jumps. Can he not jump? Does he not know how to do a force jump just like Qui-Gon onto the ship that's not going anywhere?
Why would you? No, stop right there. Why would you jump on a ship where you don't know everything about that ship? You're going to jump into an enemy-filled, occupied ship, not knowing how many enemies are in there, what weapons they have, and you think that that's a good idea.
Because he's a stupid character.
No.
He's not.
You just proved that he's not stupid.
Dude, his whole purpose is just to harass the Jedi.
And
that's
he does
all
it.
He does.
Dude, Darth Maul is just and always was a tool for Sidious.
Yes.
Sidious knew.
He's just as bad as Dooku or Boba. They're just plot contrivances. They don't matter.
So he is not as intelligent as Dooku, of course, but he's a better fighter than Dooku ever was. However,
we don't know that.
You're right. We don't know that.
We only see Dooku
implied.
when he's old as hell.
Well, so Darth Maul, his one real line of dialogue, he states that he's excited. He's looking forward to revealing themselves to the Jedi because he had been training under Sidious for so long. Well, I can't even say so long, for a little while. And when he finally does reveal himself, he is the one that tracks them to Tatooine. There's skill involved there. He has insight.
So just like Boba Fett, because Boba Fett was a bounty hunter, tracked down many people. But go on.
Darth Maul played exactly what his part was supposed to be. He was an apprentice to Sidious, who was the puppet master for everything. Sidious told him what to do. He did it exemplary. I fucked that word up. He did it to the best of his abilities, which was very good, because he killed the Jedi Battle Master. Qui-Gon Jinn was not a fucking pushover. Qui-Gon Jinn was an incredible Jedi. And then he got killed by his
apprentice in a stupid ass way.
After
his job was to kill both of them. His job was to kill both of them, and he lost to easier opponent.
But after he had just gotten his ass pressured for dozens of minutes against Qui-Gon.
He has Obi-Wan in a pit of death, hanging on for dear life with no weapon, and he stands there and waits long enough for Obi-Wan to come up with a plan that's stupid, execute said plan that's stupid, and gets killed. It's dumb.
Once again, hubris leads to your downfall.
I can't defend his death. I can't, because it was dumb. But I agree with John. I do agree with John that I think
The-
he was a little overconfident because you saw him fucking with Obi-Wan, scattering the sparks above him. That wasn't for anything meaningful. It was just fucking with him. He was just
Dude, that
terrifying
wasn't
him at that
he
point.
wasn't messing with him. He just didn't know what to do because he's stupid.
No, he's not
If
stupid.
you
Darth Maul's
no.
not
if you
stupid.
have somebody in that position as a Jedi, Sith, whatever, you just throw your lightsaber into his fucking face and the fight is over.
Darth
Obi-Wan's
Maul,
dead and
he's-
he actually accomplished his goal. But Darth Maul's not good for anything except looking cool and getting killed. That
no.
was
That's
his
not
entire
true.
purpose.
That is not true, because with that argument, every main villain in the Star Wars franchise is a retard. That's what you just said.
Except for Vader and Sidious, yes, I would stand by that too.
No, I mean
Vader
Sidious is
and
dumb.
Sidious.
Then
and
Sidious is an
Sidious.
idiot too.
No,
Because
Sidious does stupid things and he gets killed by his hubris, but he is by far and away the most intelligent person in all of Star Wars.
Yeah,
True.
I'll agree with that.
Yeah. So, but again, Darth Maul did way more than Boba Fett did.
What did he
with
do?
less.
What did he do?
Killed
Tell
a
me what he
Jedi.
He killed a Jedi, not just any Jedi, a Battle Master. Regardless of how he died afterwards, he still killed a Jedi. How did the other Jedis die? Didn't they have to get killed by basically like armies and multiple people? Like he did
think
this
Some of them got
single-handedly.
killed by clone troopers.
I think
Killing
Some
a
of
Jedi
them.
is not that hard.
It up until
One
this
on
point,
one?
it is.
One-on-one
It's-
it is.
It's really not though. Like
What?
when they do, we'll see it. When they execute Order 66, a bunch of Jedi get killed in the dumbest ways imaginable.
They were
An
jumped on,
average
and they weren't.
Jedi is not that great. They just
those
have
Jedi
plot armor.
Those Jedi
And
were
you just-
jumped, and they were nowhere near as talented as Qui-Gon Jinn was.
Once again, you just said it, an average Jedi, and he took
Dude,
on
we don't know
two Jedis.
anything about Qui-Gon Jinn in this movie, man.
okay, if
you guys
just-
keep bringing up things like, oh, well, Qui-Gon was this and he was that, but he's nothing in this movie. He is just a Jedi in this movie.
He clearly
That is what I'm
carries,
talking about.
He clearly carries weight because
No, he doesn't. He
in
just
this
talks
movie-
shit in the council and gets shut down by Yoda.
he was selected specifically to handle the Trade Federation negotiations. He constantly does his own thing and challenges the entire council's decisions almost entirely every single chance he has. So, although it's not
On one
specifically
thing.
stated, although it is not specifically stated and given a backstory to Qui-Gon Jinn, it is heavily implied he carries higher influence than other members of the council, and therefore is probably a more respected member of it. So we can assume that Qui-Gon is a more superior Jedi than the average one.
That's
at the
an
very
asinine
least.
argument, dude.
At the least.
By that logic, I could assume that Boba Fett is one of the most badass motherfuckers in the entire galaxy.
And you'd be
He's
right.
not only just chilling with Jabba the Hutt, but also Vader thinks he's badass.
You honestly, you would be right, because Vader chose the best bounty hunters to find Han, and among those he had chosen in that room, yes, he had the best bounty hunters available, which was Boba Fett. And although Boba Fett did nothing spectacular in the movies and was kind of shit on and is the butt of jokes, Boba did some awesome things in his time. They weren't just specifically brought out in the movie. So you have to really trust in the context of the scene, and you have to trust in the decisions of the characters.
Context, dude. Literally everything that we see from Darth Maul is him following Sidious's orders, because he doesn't do anything unless Sidious tells him to do it. Literally nothing. Every single move that he makes is because Sidious told him to do it.
He found them on Tatooine on his own accord.
He gets bested by Qui-Gon in the duel in the desert.
Who is an incredible Jedi Master.
Hold up. No.
If he gets away from you in a one-on-one duel, you got bested. Whether
that
or
is not
you
getting bested.
Technically lost, you lost your target. Your job was to kill him. You fucked up. There's no argument for that, dude.
I don't think
you did not accomplish your goal.
He didn't.
I didn't say
he
he lost. I said he got bested because he lost his target. That's it. You lost your
That's a
target.
very
Your
bold
job was to
statement.
I
kill it.
think
You fucked up.
there may also be some strategy there, because
What's his strategy?
the
What's his
ultimate
ultimate
goal is
goal?
not
I'm gonna go fuck with Qui-Gon Jinn and then let him go so he can talk about me like I'm a boogeyman?
Maul's ultimate goal was not the Jedi Masters, it was the Queen. So maybe he let him escape to
No, it
track.
wasn't. We know from scenes involving him and Sidious, his goal was to kill the Jedi. It wasn't to catch the Queen. He doesn't give a shit about the Queen because Sidious's plan requires her to be alive. There was never any plan to kill Queen Amidala, which is probably why she's even alive. Because frankly, Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan seem under-equipped to protect her at all.
But
Right
discounting
about
his
that.
entire character and his skill just because he's doing what he's told,
I'm
how is
I'm
that?
not I'm not discounting his character and skill because he's doing what he's told, but he doesn't show any character and skill other than he kills Qui-Gon Jinn. But that doesn't mean anything to us
How does
because
that not
Qui-Gon
mean
Jinn
anything?
because Qui-Gon Jinn is just a Jedi. We don't know anything about him except that he's a
So
Jedi. He shows
okay.
up in the beginning to have
Uh-huh.
talks. Him
Uh-huh.
and Obi-Wan like dematerialize off screen against some droid Decas. And like he talks shit to the Jedi Council, but like he doesn't do anything meaningful. We don't hear about anything meaningful he's ever done. As far as we know from watching this movie, which is the only place he appears, he didn't do anything.
No, okay, so you touched upon it already. So like regardless of how good of a Jedi Qui-Gon is, in all the movies that has been seen thus far, like how many Jedis were killed?
Uh,
Two.
except for Luke, all of them.
No, 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 no,
Literally
no.
all of them.
No, that we've seen up until now. Like if you watch the
Yeah,
movies,
all of them, dude. Because the only other ones we've seen are Luke, Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Yoda. 3 of those 4 are dead. Literally all of them except for Luke.
yes, okay, so the Jedis were all killed off by the Sith. What I'm saying is like on screen, have you seen a Jedi killed? The Jedis were Master Yoda, Obi-Wan, Darth no, Darth Vader technically was a Jedi, but then he became a Sith. Darth Sidious, like anybody with force powers basically lives until the very, very end. And Obi-Wan Kenobi basically gave up to be killed. He gave up. He didn't like die in an actual battle. He didn't fight to the death. He just gave up.
What's your
Like
point?
what I'm saying is like we haven't seen a Jedi get basically taken out. Boba Fett, one of
We
the best
also
bounty hunters.
we also haven't
Boba,
seen them do anything.
true, but what I'm saying is like the lore and like what everybody believes is like Jedi's can kill. Anakin's like even saying like nobody can kill a Jedi because that's what people believe. Like what they're saying is Jedi's are hard to kill. Anakin sees a lightsaber on Qui-Gon Jinn and he's like he has to be a Jedi because nobody's just gonna have a lightsaber on them because Jedi's are so hard to kill. And he killed one while a 2-on-1 match. You
You're
can't deny that feat.
Dude, you're basing that off of the comment of a child.
No, I'm
There's
saying in general throughout the whole movies
but like
that we've seen up till now.
I'm not talking about all of them because the only ones that give you any more context in this are episode 2 and 3. Like even 7, 8, and 9 don't really give you any context for how good Jedi's are and aren't, unless you count the Mary Sue that is
Exactly. So
Rey, which is nonsense. But
the
like,
only thing we can go off of is what we've seen.
right? But
Like,
what we've seen is Obi-Wan, who's old and doesn't do much of anything. We've
uh-huh,
seen Yoda, who's old and literally does nothing.
uh-huh,
You could argue he doesn't even really train Luke, even though he would say that he did.
yeah,
Vader, who's dead.
mm-hmm,
Palpatine, who's dead.
mm-hmm,
Luke, who killed. Nope, Luke didn't do anything
yep,
because, like, he cut off Vader's hand. That was his big accomplishment.
yep.
Qui-Gon doesn't do anything. He gets killed by Darth Maul. Darth Maul does nothing. He gets cut in half. Obi-Wan killed Darth Maul. That's literally the totality of what they've accomplished in combat up to this point.
So in combat, they hadn't taken on armies of droids by themselves.
You mean the battle droids? The dumbest beings in the entire galaxy by a mile? The battle droids are literally so stupid that it takes him a hot second to go, "Wait a second. I can't let you just take the princess off this planet where we're trying to detain her."
Wait, you're arrested.
Yeah, like the battle droid. By the way, it's just a side note for a second. Like, I love the battle droids. Like, I
They're
absolutely
fun. They're
adore
fun.
how stupid the battle droids
They're
are.
retarded.
They're like
So
my favorite.
so I personally think that they gave enough context and they gave enough in this movie to establish Qui-Gon Jinn as a superior Jedi Knight, and it was surprising and exceptional that Darth Maul was able to kill him. And then Darth Maul's, once again, hubris, his overconfidence seemingly, is what led to his downfall and why Obi-Wan was able to kill him. Now, you can pick that apart, of course, but Darth Maul didn't need to be anything more than just the muscle of Palpatine. Palpatine was the brain, Darth Maul was the muscle. And that's fine. Darth Maul still did find them on Tatooine and let them go, whatever. He got bested, fine, okay, but he quickly found them, isolated the Jedi, and then proceeded to battle them immediately. There a wasn't a big gap there. So I think Darth Maul was absolutely justified, and he is justified in his reverence, and people love him and think that he's amazing. And if you dip into the expanded Darth Maul stories, then you'll find that to be fortified and reinforced from all the other cool shit he does. But in this movie, I don't think that I wouldn't compare him to Boba. I think he does a hell of
Yeah,
a lot more than Boba
that's the
He
does.
only thing
literally
that
does
ruffled my
not do
feathers.
more than Boba,
He
but
does
like,
He
significantly more than
does.
Boba does.
Who did
hold on,
Boba kill?
no, hold on. What does he do that's significantly more than Boba?
The
Kill
one
the
thing
Jedi.
that he did in this movie, which was
Which is
outstanding.
comparable to getting Han thrown into
No,
carbonite? Like,
no,
that's
no. Killing Qui
Ho-
Gon Jinn is
Han
far more of
Solo.
an accomplishment than Boba's
No,
ever done.
it's not, dude. Qui-Gon Jinn literally doesn't do anything to give him any kind of weight. Han Solo is a main character in Star Wars, and because of Boba Fett, he ends up in carbonite. And at the end of Episode 5, he's fucking dead for all we know.
Qui-Gon
He's
Jinn
gone. He's
Qui-Gon
dusted.
Jinn was the main character of this movie almost. He had more airtime than almost anybody else.
But that doesn't mean anything.
It does
He's
mean anything. Through
he's
the context of how everyone interacted with him, you knew he was an exceptional Jedi Knight.
You
I got
really
that
don't though,
impression.
dude. He's
I don't
just
know
a
how you didn't
Jedi
get that impression.
because they treat him like that because he's a Jedi, not because he's an exceptional Jedi. Just
Well,
because he runs off at the
He's the only Jedi you see that has a Padawan throughout the entire
that
movie. He's the
literally
only
doesn't
Jedi
mean
you see.
anything.
He's the only Jedi you see that challenges the Council. He was picked.
He's the only Jedi you see at the council at all.
He specifically was chosen to handle the Trade Federation deals.
Which
You
doesn't
know,
mean anything. We have no idea why he was chosen for that.
so then you have
that
to.
might mean he's a great fucking chit chatter, dude. Like, it doesn't mean anything that he was chosen for that. We have no context for anything that you're
He was
talking
right.
about.
He was right about Anakin. He was right about escaping from the Federation ship.
I would argue he was super wrong about Anakin.
He
but-
was. He
like, he could not have been more wrong about Anakin.
Well, he was right in the fact that he was exceptional and that he needed to be tested and brought forth the Jedi Council. Whatever happened after that is another story entirely. But countless times throughout this movie, every single step of the way, Qui-Gon was in control. Qui-Gon made the right decisions. Qui-Gon was leading the entire plot of the entire movie. He was the driving force throughout this entire episode here. Everyone else was along for the fucking ride, and Qui-Gon was piloting that ship. And for him to die at the very end, I think spoke significance. I think they made enough of a claim to say, hey, Qui-Gon, you don't fuck with Qui-Gon. He clearly is exceptional. He's a great Jedi, and that's why it was shocking to see him die.
We're clearly not going to agree on this, but
no, not even
I want to say this. Like, everything that you're talking about definitely gives his death weight in the context of the plot of this movie. but none of that gives context to how much of a feat it was for Darth Maul to defeat him. For all we know, in the context of this movie, Qui-Gon's a fucking terrible lightsaber duelist. And Darth Maul's maybe a little bit better. Maybe he just got fucking lucky. Like, we literally don't have any context for it. So the fact that he died doesn't have weight in, like, oh, Darth Maul is this super badass Jedi killer, especially when he gets killed 5 seconds later by a Padawan in the dumbest way imaginable.
So, do you
And
think
like, and what I'm
the
saying is, like,
yeah.
nothing that he did is more powerful than what Boba Fett did. I'm not saying that Boba Fett's a better character. I think that they're comparable. Like, they're cool fucking characters who do very minor things that work to move the plot forward, and they're cool to look at. There's a reason why people dig those characters. I dig both of those characters. But like, as characters, as fleshed out characters you can attach to, they both suck because they don't have characters. They
So
just go and do the bidding of whoever their master is at that time, and that's it. And then they both die in really dumb ways.
True. It's just that Darth Maul is better than Boba Fett, in my
He's
opinion.
I
he
mean,
is.
you can have that opinion, but like, if
Do you
your
agree
argument is
that
because he did something, you're just
do you
factually wrong. He literally doesn't do anything of value.
do you agree that the intention of the writers was to show Qui-Gon was a special or a more enhanced Jedi Knight, and i- that would increase the weight of his death by Darth Maul towards the end? Do you think they tried at least to do that? Do you
Uh
think that that context was attempted? That was their intention throughout the movie, was to say, although there wasn't a 5 minute spinoff that said, Yoda didn't have dialogue that says, Qui-Gon, you're the best lightsaber duelist that we've ever seen, and damn it, I don't trust your opinion, but I can't do anything about it because you're such a good fucking duelist. Because they omitted that whole part, right? Do you think that that they didn't at least try through subtext and through context throughout the movie to show how special and powerful, decisive and intelligent Qui-Gon was throughout the entire movie? At least they tried that.
I mean,
So
it's impossible to know their intention unless they tell us.
my point is that
But
my point is I think they were trying to do that, and I think that for me they accomplished it, but for you it was lost. Something lost you along the way. But I got it. I got what they were trying to put forth. They didn't have to tell me Qui-Gon was an incredible Jedi Knight that had a storied history of lightsaber wins and was an incredible duelist, and what in the fact that he was bested by Darth Maul speaks volumes to how powerful Darth Maul or how cunning he might have been. I got that through the context and and the plot of the movie. I understood that to be true without them telling me it.
I would argue that based solely on what we're presented in this movie, you're looking for justification in how you feel about this character. Because the only thing that you could really make an argument for is because Yoda has that sidebar with Qui-Gon Jinn, it seems to imply that he has, at the very least, some kind of respect for Qui-Gon Jinn to have an extended dialogue with him, as opposed to just like, no, go to hell. We're not doing what you said because it's stupid, which it was. Um, no, I mean, from a literal standpoint, like what Yoda was saying was factually accurate. What Qui-Gon was suggesting is super dangerous. He did it anyway, and we saw how it turned out. So, like, just facts on the ground, Yoda was right and Qui-Gon was wrong. But even putting that aside, like, to your point, if I concede that point and they're trying to make out Qui-Gon to be special in some way, I think your best argument is that sidebar he has with Yoda, but that doesn't imply anything more than like, okay, Qui-Gon is special for some reason. He was chosen for these trade negotiations. He has a sidebar with Yoda, so his voice holds some weight, whatever. So his impact in dying at the end of this movie works for you in the context of the movie, but that doesn't transfer his importance to Darth Maul, because Darth Maul defeats him in a fight. And like I was saying earlier, Qui-Gon and Darth Maul have a standoff earlier in the desert in which Qui-Gon escapes from him. Then they have another standoff in which Darth Maul kills Qui-Gon. So you could call that whatever. They traded blows on that one. Um, but you have no context for Qui-Gon being a good duelist. So regardless of how it makes you feel or the impact it might have on the Jedi Council to lose Qui-Gon and this, that, and the other, it doesn't give any weight to how good Darth Maul is at anything, except maybe tracking these guys down since he did that across the galaxy into this desert nowhere planet. And for me, at least, it further detracts from how good Darth Maul is when he is then killed in such a dumb way by the apprentice of the guy he just knocked off. Which I don't know. Like, does that mean that Qui Gon was just old and couldn't keep up with Darth Maul? Was Darth Maul's hubris getting in his way and he died in a really, really, really stupid way because he couldn't get out of his own way? Which, if your argument is that Darth Maul is this great duelist, like, once you reach a certain level as a swordsman, you don't just drop your guard like that. Regardless, like, he had so much time to react to that move from Obi-Wan that if your argument is that Darth Maul is this incredible lightsaber duelist, it just doesn't make any narrative sense that he would die that way. So my point is, like, even if Qui-Gon is this important Jedi, he matters, which I think you could make an argument that there's context, subtext, that he does matter more than your average Jedi. There's no context whatsoever for how good he is as a duelist, and thus no context whatsoever for how good Darth Maul is because he doesn't fight anybody else except Qui-Gon and then what, 2 minutes when he gets beaten by Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, you could say that, and like I agree with a lot of the statements that you made, but like he fought two Jedi, regardless of how good of a duelist he is, like regardless of what we see, like we've seen Jedi's duel like one on one with each other and it's hard, and he fought two by himself, held his ground, separated them, and then killed the one that is thought to be or alluded to be better. Um that's still a feat in itself, and Boba Fett could never do that. He couldn't even.
I mean,
No,
no,
he's
I'm not like I'm not that chuckle isn't because like I'm
yeah.
disregarding what you're saying. I'm just like it comes back to what I'm saying again, where we have no context for that. Like everything that you're saying is factually accurate, but like he's the first Jedi Sith with the dual lightsaber, which maybe these Jedi's have literally never seen this before, so it takes them off guard. You know, like there's so
Well,
many things that play into it that it just doesn't,
I mean,
at
fun
least for
as
me, looking at it just as a narrative story, it just doesn't carry the weight that you guys are attributing to
yeah,
it.
but it just feels like it fell off at the end because of the way that he went out. Like if you went out in like a different way, I believe you probably have a different
yeah, like if Obi-Wan
viewpoint, and
didn't kill him, if they ended in a stalemate and then he maybe just got injured and then got away and then he died
or Darth
somehow in the second.
Sidious like took him out because he fulfilled his purpose.
Yeah, like I think that your perception would be different because I got all the context I needed. Although I didn't see Darth Maul take down hordes of other Jedi to understand how good of a duelist he was. I saw that in the 1 minute, the 2 minutes he had against those two Jedi Knights and defending them and fending them both off easily. It's not like they were matched. He was toying with them. He had no problem taking them both on. It's literally
That's a weird read of that scene, but okay, go on.
he didn't really he wasn't struggling that hard. He really wasn't. He was very confident. You saw it when those laser doors showed up. Qui-Gon Jinn tried to center himself again, very Jedi, where he was just trolling back and forth, menacingly
Just
looking.
waiting for his time.
Love that scene so damn much. And when they started fighting again, it was only a few seconds, less than a minute, until he took out Qui-Gon Jinn, because it was more tight, confined areas. They didn't have a lot of room, and it was the first time that they fought
A Sith, let alone someone with a dual lightsaber.
Yeah, exactly. And the real reason, which is expanded lore, is that Qui-Gon Jinn's lightsaber isn't very adept to fighting dual bladed weapons. Whatever. I'm not bringing that into that. I'm just saying that's why he lost. But
that's so profoundly stupid.
that's the canon, because
Yeah,
there's
it's
different
dumb.
styles. There's different styles of fighting, and the reason why Obi-Wan practiced this one style that he's known for is because he saw Qui-Gon Jinn die and he didn't want to repeat that mistake. So he practiced a different style. Like, Matt can explain all this. He touched on it a little bit before too in the fifth episode, in the sixth episode. But I think that John is right. If Darth Maul, if the end would have been a little bit different, if he would have died in a possibly more satisfying, or possibly didn't die at all and just
a
left,
logistically better way.
yeah, a better way, then it would
you guys are
have been
literally
more satisfying
describing
for you.
Yeah, of course.
I
Because
got
you're
all the
literally
context I needed.
you're describing a fix for the fundamental problem that I
But
have with the character.
I got all of the context I needed from the airtime that those characters had. And I knew that Darth Maul was a very confident Sith, because the one conversation he had with Sidious was him saying, I can't wait to go balls out with these Jedi, essentially. He's like, I can't wait to reveal ourselves. So we knew he was...
I couldn't believe it when he said balls out, right?
Yeah,
Like,
dude.
in the Star
Oh,
Wars
really
movie.
really uncharacteristic. But they clearly set him up to be a very confident, menacing, and devious Sith.
So here's the alternate reading to everything that you're talking about, right? When you're introduced to Darth Maul, he's Sidious's muscle. His commentary and back and forth with Sidious is, I really want to get out there, man. I want to show the Jedi that the Sith are back, and we're gonna do this thing. It's gonna be so fucking metal.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, like, when fast forward to the fight with Obi-Wan and with Qui-Gon, and they're like stuck in the red beam rooms or whatever, he's like bashing on that shit because he's super emotional, super impatient, like he's a kid who just got this immense power that he just wants to unleash without understanding it first.
He wasn't
So-
bashing. He tested the doors because
No,
he wanted to see if he can get through them.
Sure, but like it's a show of his impatience, not
Yes, you're right.
because like that moment is to show you that he just wants to get back in the fucking fight and he wants to know if this is like
Yes.
actually in his way or whatever.
Yes.
Whereas
that
Qui-Gon
scene-
takes the time to sit and meditate, recenter.
Mhm.
So my point is, like, he comes off as this really juvenile type character who just wants to, like, with his cool fucking face paint and awesome horns, show how fucking metal the Sith are, how much better we are than them, bro. We're just gonna rule the galaxy, dude. Like, these Jedi have no idea what's gonna come for them.
Dean, it's
The
actually,
worst part
that's
is
actually
like,
really insensitive. It's
yeah.
it's not face paint. That's
Yeah.
how he was born.
Yeah, but anyways, I'm totally okay with how you're reading into that, because again, that's fine, because he did that. He scared the shit out of Qui-Gon with that one battle, to where he's like letting the Jedi.
That's a stretch.
That he like he's all like, this guy had Jedi. He knew lightsaber duels. He knew the Jedi ways. Like, we need to put this on our radar, and everybody's like just brushing it off.
So,
like,
yeah, I would not say that Qui-Gon was shaken by that at all, though. Like, he was just kind of like, man, that's dude. I know about the Zabrak.
they're a warrior
I
race. That's why he was so confident.
Dude, I don't need a history lesson on those. I'm talking about the confines of episode 1. Like, I understand where you guys would come from, the position that you have with the extended knowledge that they put forth after the fact, but I'm not talking about that. Like, with all of that additional information, with all that additional information, yeah, Darth Maul is definitely better than a character like Boba Fett, who's also pretty badass in his own right when you take all that additional information in. But I'm not talking about any of that. I don't care that he's from a warrior race. I don't care that he's this, that, or the other, because we don't know any of that in this movie. What we do know is he's a cool looking character with cool fucking horns and his cool black robes, and he's like really amped up and stoked to go fight some Jedi and reveal the Sith because he has no tact, and he gets killed. And the only thing of any value that he accomplishes, because the other thing that he accomplishes is fighting the Jedi, but that's meaningless unless you do something about it. So the only thing that he accomplishes is killing Qui-Gon, who, unless you read into things that they don't say, that they don't show, we have no context for what he's like as a Jedi. And so his death, while meaningful for the plot and has emotional resonance, does not tell you anything about who Darth Maul is as a character or how good he is as a character or whatever. That's all I'm saying.
I can't disagree with that, honestly. I mean, I think it's so personal. I think personally, I got all the context that I needed out of it, and I was satisfied. But I absolutely understand where you're coming from, Dean. I do. I really do. It's just, I think where it boils down to is just the differences of experiences. That's kind of what it is.
Yeah, I mean, like, for me, looking at it as a narrative film and just is what it is. I take all the Star Wars out of it, all my feelings out of it, all of the extended universe stuff out of it, and just look at it for what it is. The movie doesn't succeed in telling me anything about Qui-Gon Jinn that would make me believe that Darth Maul is this great Sith warrior. He's just a dude who caught them off guard because none of the Jedi really believed in the Sith anymore, it seems like, which we have no real reason to believe that Qui-Gon's not the same way, so maybe he underestimates his foe, whatever. Like, there's so many things that you can add on it that kind of get me to where you're at, but there's also so many things that I can layer on top of that that kind of gives subtext to counter what you're talking about. So, for me, no matter how I look at it, it's a narrative failure if that was their intention.
I'll concede to that. Sure. That they didn't make it blatantly
It definitely
obvious.
was a narrative failure in the way that they ended it. Like, they honestly, from what I feel, they wrote themselves into a corner during the lightsaber duel at the ending, and that's how they got themselves out of it.
I don't know,
But,
man. Like, we found out throughout the history of Star Wars that getting thrown into a bottomless pit of death doesn't mean anything. You just come right back.
Yeah, but like, I'm just saying, like, again, like, I'm basing everything that I am talking about with the importance of Darth Maul and how much he did and like what a feat that was based off in the movie. And like, I don't care who you are or like how bad someone is, but like with Jedis, they're the only ones who do lightsaber duels. And for someone to come in by themselves, regardless of what lightsaber they have, what fighting style they use, or if the Jedis are caught off guard, to handle both of them by yourself is still a feat.
But let me ask
and
you
to
this.
kill one on top of that.
But let me ask you this. Based solely on episodes 4, 5, 6, and 1, what context do you have that killing a Jedi is an actual feat?
Because the only other Jedi that I've seen killed gave up. And anytime that Jedis fight each other, they lose like maybe a limb. The last Jedi,
but we've
or
never
Sith,
seen a Jedi fight another Jedi before.
You're right. We've only seen
What do
Jedi
you-
versus Sith, but they've also. So
And
I'm trying
did we even know that Vader was a Sith?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember.
I mean, he was Darth Vader. He's technically a Sith. I mean,
Well, I mean, we know that, but I mean, in the context of the movies, do they ever tell us that?
no. And actually, that's a good point. I thought it was super confusing because that was the first time that I had ever heard the term Sith way. Did they use the word Sith in the original trilogy? I can't remember now.
I
I don't
don't
think they did
think
either. I don't think they did.
if they do, it's I don't know. I don't
I
know. I
thought
don't remember them
I
doing
just know
so,
for the
but
longest time I thought Sith was the race of Darth Maul. I thought he was a Sith.
I can understand
And
that.
I
I can
Yeah, I
totally
understand
I
understand
why
that.
you
didn't
said that.
I
Yeah.
didn't know better until I started playing like some expanded Star Wars games and actually reading into expanded lore. But it wasn't super explained. A lot of things in this movie weren't explained very well, and I think that's
Hmm.
why some of my favorite parts of the movie, like the first half, are when they really go into the nitty gritty political atmosphere and character building for Anakin, going into how the Jedi Council works, how they talk with one another. Um, that stuff was more interesting for me than Misa no like the tanks and fucking flying around and stupid shit like that. I didn't need, but I understand as someone who's writing a movie that hadn't captured an audience since 20 years before it, almost 20 years before it. You're trying, no, 10 years. When did, I think, when did,
When was Return of the
Return was
Jedi?
80, was it
Return
84?
83,
Okay,
83.
so,
And this was
okay.
99. So 16
So
years.
16 years, that's an entire generation right there. So I think they're trying to recapture younger audiences, and that's glaringly obvious in a lot of the scenes, a lot of the people stepping in crap, Sebulba calling people bantha fodder, and there's fart jokes everywhere. Whatever, I dealt with it, and it honestly wasn't that bad. And Jar Jar is super cringe, but I understand why he was there. Um, they definitely could have done a better job with explaining and going into some of the deeper things, and maybe an extra 15 minutes of the movie would have really been used wisely for this. But that's also my argument for a lot of the other Star Wars movies, as we're going to find as we review more of them. I start to want
Yeah.
more of that expanded, like, okay, now you're 6, 7, 8 movies in, you need to give the audience more. Like we have to start understanding more. Don't just expect that your expanded comics and books and video games are going to fill in the gaps, because the majority of your audience is only watching the movies and not playing or interfacing with those mediums at all. So,
Yeah, and I mean, as we
you know,
go on, the problem gets exponentially worse because there are extraordinarily important plot points that you would have no idea about if you don't read the books that tie in and things like that.
well, I think I think rewatching. So I'm going to go to a summary of how I felt about the movie. I think that
Okay.
rewatching the movie, I loved it. I had a great time watching it. I think it might turn out to be my favorite of the prequels. We'll see how 3 holds up. I know 2 is not going to hold up. I'll be very surprised if a week from now, if I come back here and I change my tune, it's going to be a coming to Jesus moment, because I have always hated 2, and we'll see how I feel after watching it again, because it's been a minute. But this might stay as my favorite and overtake 3, because I was surprised how much I really enjoyed watching it and how many things they did get right, and how incredible the movie really was. And also, we're talking about all the Darth Maul scenes and all the fights. Can we talk about the best fucking Star Wars song, Duel of the Fates? The
Yeah,
best
dude.
Oh
It's
yeah.
so
the best
good.
Star Wars song, man. When that kicks in, you're just, oh, you're teleported. You are teleported, and that's all you hear for the rest of your life is a and you're just imagining that scene with them fighting.
With the chorus in the
Woo,
back
it
and
is
shit.
so
Yeah.
good.
Dude, it's like One Winged
It
Angel for me,
is.
dude. Like that song is
That's
lit.
that
Also,
song is one of the most
af-
iconic of the entire Star Wars franchise, up there with like the Imperial March, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
so after that song came out, it's been touched upon that I played World of Warcraft extensively for years. PvP videos, basically all of them had that song in the PvP videos. Like all of them.
The like AMVs of like Warcraft play. Like I always think of AMVs like back in early YouTube days, people would take anime scenes and put like Linkin Park to it and, and stuff, or put like their own gameplay for certain video games, and they would put it
3 days grace.
something, right? Like the real early cringe moments of YouTube, like pre Google and pre pre Viner invasion and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, I love the first movie. John, where do you think it stacks up? I mean, how'd you feel after rewatching it?
Honestly, if I had from the movies that we watched this far, it's my top one.
Top one?
It's
Your favorite?
Yeah. Yes. It's my favorite.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Just for mainly because one, the story, like it's a 2-hour movie, but it didn't feel like a 2-hour movie. There's no slow parts. There's a lot of memorable scenes, memorable music, memorable lightsaber duels and choreography. I get it. The time gap, you have more production value. But it was just better than the other movies. I know that the other movies were more they had to build a world and center around a story and finish off strong. But in all of the movies, there's lulls, there's things that are not plotted out well for you that you don't get narratively. And like I get it, like the ending for this like fell off hard because of how someone who could kill a master just gets taken out due to whatever.
Don't think I'm not picking up on this subtle
I
continuation of this Darth Maul argument, dude. Like,
I don't
let
care.
it
Like,
go.
I'm gonna get into it on my phone when I go to the store after this to get groceries. Like, I don't give a shit. But what I'm saying is, like, as a movie as a whole, it was like the whole package. When I think of Star Wars, honestly, I think more of Episode 1 than anything else because of how it just has everything you think about when it comes to Star Wars. Everything that you can love. Different races, different alien races that are shown more than were in the previous movies, interacting with each other, different aspects, not more just in space fighting with like ships and stuff like that, but more grounded, especially with the pod racing scene. Pod racing scene was amazing. And then making Sith and Jedi look more fearsome and expanding upon like their skill set. It's just that I feel like it did that and much more, and that's why at this point in time it's definitely my top movie. And you can fight me on that. That's fine.
I wouldn't
That's
agree
just
with
how I
that.
feel about
It's pretty bold, to be honest. It's of the ones we've seen so far. If I had only seen 4 Star Wars movies, 4, 5, 6, and 1, I would put it at number 4. It would be below 4, 5, and 6 in the same facet. Although 6 and 1, personally, 6 and 1 are pretty close. Closer than I thought they would be. But I still think 6 edges out over Episode 1 for me.
I think that 6 is a worse movie than this.
I mean, I can't fight that. I mean, I perfectly understand why you would believe that. And I can't say that nostalgia doesn't kind of swayed my opinion there in the end. But I don't know. Like, I just care more about Luke and Vader in the full Empire than I do what happened in this movie, I think. But I mean, Episode 1's a great movie. It's still one of the best of the entire franchise.
Yeah, like for me, if I were to rank them right now, it would be like 4, 5, 1, and 6. And honestly, it might be like 4, 5, 1, space, 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 6. Like 6, towards the end of 6, I was actually kind of like, I'm kind of over this movie already. And I never felt that about any of the other 3.
So they had similar sequences that I was like, okay, I'm kind of over this. So I equate all the Gungan stuff with the Ewok stuff. Like both of those movies made mishaps there, and they could have made those sequences significantly better. Ironically enough, they were both battle scenes against at that moment the Empire, or at least a representation of an empire or an army, right? So I think that whole last battle at Tatooine could have been done way better, and I think that the battle on Endor could have been done way better too.
Dude, I just have to say I really love this movie. After
Yeah,
rewatching it, I actually like it more than I thought that I liked it before rewatching it this
I agree
time.
with that. Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah,
there's a scene in this movie where ET is on the Imperial Senate. You know how
yeah.
awesome that
Oh,
is?
some.
And, and the Wookiees. There's a
Mhm.
Wookiee senator.
And also, I didn't realize R2 is a hero, dude. I forgot that entire sequence where he
Yep.
was the last astro droid to live and bypass that power and save them.
Once again, saving R2, saving
It's literally
everybody.
saving
Yep.
everybody. Yeah.
Did you guys notice that there was another R2 unit on that ship that looked exactly the same as R2? He was the first one that got shot down when they all 4 or 5 of them went outside, but he looked like identical to R2D2.
I didn't note it down, but I'm not surprised. Right? Just probably only so many versions or colors of astro droids out there. I don't think they would. I thought it was surprising that Padme went out of her way to celebrate the R2 unit. Like, he did his job. Why? Like, I don't celebrate my toaster for not burning my toast. I don't. It's kind of a different, you know, kind of a different environment. I don't know. It just he did what he was programmed to do. I don't know why he needed special recognition for it.
Did we find out that like R2 has a little badge thing on him that says his identifier is R2D2?
No, I did
Oh
not know.
yeah, that's how they knew. He looked
Like on
at
the
him.
ship, like he looked at him. He's like, R2D2. I was like, wait, does he have a little thing on there that says his identifier is R2D2?
Yeah, I mean, he had something on him at least, like a serial
It
number. Like
seems
he had
like
like a
it.
serial number.
He-
It's probably scratched off by 4, 5, and 6 at this point.
or he's just making shit up. He's like, he's R2D2, Your Majesty.
One thing,
And R2D2 is like, I kind of like that. I'm just gonna roll with that from now on.
well, one thing that annoyed me was that Anakin, the whole space flight and the fight thing, between Anakin and R2 trying to bypass the autopilot, which why the autopilot was piloting directly towards the enemy, whatever, and why there's a child-sized helmet and a Naboo fighter already there for him perfectly. Whatever, I'll bypass all of that.
His ship overheats.
Yeah, in space.
What?
In space.
What the dude? First of all, he just like flies into this like space station with really no resistance at all, and then his ship overheats.
And I like how Anakin just knows what R2's saying always. Like, how do these characters, no matter how old they are, always know what droids are fucking saying? He immediately understands R2 no matter what. And that was the first time he met him was when R2 well, he met him on the Nubian ship as well, but it's not like he learned R2's language or whatever. He just knew droid, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain that, but they've just everyone can talk to everybody else.
Oh, you know what else they bring up in this movie? I don't know why this just occurred to me right now, but they actually mention the rule of 2 in this
Yeah.
movie.
No more, no
Wait,
less.
really?
Yeah, Yoda does.
Yeah. Yoda talks
Okay.
about the rule of
Yep.
2.
That's the first time they actually bring it up. And then I thought it was also cool that Qui-Gon mentioned, he's like, who did we kill? The apprentice or the master? I thought that was kind of a cool line.
That's pretty obvious after watching this movie.
Jesus. Oh no, it wasn't Qui-Gon. It was Mace Windu. It was Mace Windu. Right?
What, that initially brought it up?
No, that after when they were celebrating and they were talking about Obi-Wan
Mace Windu was the one
and
that
Qui-Gon, and I was,
Yeah.
I think I said Qui-Gon. Yeah, I meant Mace Windu. Also, it was kind of weird when they were burning Qui-Gon Jinn. They were like right next
Dude,
to the
how
body.
macabre is that?
It wasn't
I know,
covered
dude,
at
I was
all.
like,
They were just burning
no.
a body.
I was like, how
His
macabre
bare
would that be? You
face?
just have to watch the flesh melt off his
It's pretty
face.
metal. Yeah, it's a pretty.
It's like, god damn, the Jedi are hardcore, man.
Oh man,
And Padme's right there too. She's like, you know what? We're gonna watch a man burn right now.
stomaching.
just gonna do it.
Yeah.
like, like holy shit, this galaxy is
Oh, and what the hell
ruthless.
was that like Spencer's orb, like lightning orb that they were both holding at the end?
I don't know,
What?
dude. I was wondering that too. It was like
Peace!
we decided to forego medals for whatever this thing is.
I didn't understand what that was. I'm sure there's an entire Wikipedia article on what it is and the significance of it, but
Yeah.
they gave you no context. There's like, look at this glowing lightning ball, and the Gungans are like, so cool, we're at peace now.
I think that's like the theme of this movie. It's just not enough context.
They could
Yeah.
have.
They present a lot of shit and a lot of it's really cool, but like they don't give you any context or explain why any of it's significant or really what any of it really is.
I would have appreciated a director's cut with like another 20 minutes, and just those 20 minutes would be
Some decent
just
exposition on
absolutely
certain aspects.
just a little bit of exposition to drop some expectations for things that happen in the movie. And it doesn't have to be a lot, but just enough to really understand the significance of some of the major plot points in the movie.
Yeah, can you imagine if they were like, so listen, there's this planet in the middle of the universe, and midichlorians exist on this planet, and then they disperse out when new beings are born. And these midichlorians are the connection between the
Abort!
living and
Abort!
cosmic
Too much
force.
exposition! Abort!
And then, wait, hold on, dude. I'm getting to the best part. Then, when somebody dies, all the midichlorians just travel back to this planet in the middle of the universe. Isn't that awesome?
Did you read that off the Wikipedia?
Oh yeah, that's all canon
Oh,
information.
God, I don't-
That's really what it.
I was better not knowing! Well, I look forward to shitting on episode 2 next week.
Well, hold on.
Yeah,
hold on.
I do.
Yeah.
First of all, who's our official creature to shit on in this
Oh, the Gungans.
in this episode?
Because
like, I think the Gungans are easy, but you could also make a real good argument for the battle droids.
battle droids aren't a race, though. It's not their fault. That's their creator's fault. You can't blame the battle droids for what they are.
Well, by that logic, we can't shit on C-3PO anymore, man.
No.
Oh,
we
no,
can
we
shit
can
on
shit on
C-3PO.
C-3PO, but we've expanded on why he is what he is, and I think we hit a really good point that no one really thinks about.
That's
Like it sheds light on why he's such.
That's because Anakin is actually a really shitty mechanic, and he built him wrong. That's why.
Or he could.
You saw a good
or he
example of a protocol droid in this in the first scene of the movie.
Yeah.
You saw a really eloquent and perfectly programmed protocol droid. That protocol droid even knew they were Jedi Knights. She walked back and she was like, oh, they're definitely Jedi Knights in there. They're like, oh, Jedi Knights, oh no.
Or since Anakin was a slave and he only used junk to build
Oh my
C-3PO,
God.
he got a thrown out personality processor. And that's why they threw away C-3PO, because he
Does
was
that
a
also
shit droid.
explain
So he
does that also explain how he knows the Sith language in the 9th movie too?
yeah.
Oh my god, dude! I told.
Remember that?
I'm not ready
Take
for that.
one last
Can't
look at my
wait.
friends.
Can't
Delete.
wait.
Control all delete.
Oh my god! So okay, so we have to make a decision. Like, we need an official creature.
I say Gungan.
Or character. I almost feel like the Gungans are such low hanging fruit.
I mean, so
That's the problem. Is there such low hanging fruit? Like, I was like, oh, maybe I'm I'm blowing it out of proportion. Like, maybe they're not that bad. Nah, dude.
the
It's
Ewoks
worse.
are
I
the
really
E-
don't
I mean,
think they're that
Ewoks
bad.
are low hanging fruit, and we shit all over them. So
Yeah,
no,
the Ewoks are worse than the Gungans, in my opinion. Like, they don't even have. They're just.
they don't
kinda
have an actual
really-
language.
They're
that
just
you-
like
that you have to
feral
stand through.
teddy bears that do shit.
as a whole, I
But they
think
threw over an
Ewoks are
empire,
better
though.
than Gungans, but Jar Jar is worse than everything. So, like, I think Gungans, because like the Gungan King and the other Gungan General were reasonable and they were fine and a little quirky. Jar Jar is just a buffoon. He's a doofus.
Mhm.
None of the Ewoks were really.
It's true.
I mean, yeah, they were kind of weird, but they weren't like, oh, Misa's so tiny, like they were. in your face. Like, you didn't have an Ewok with you the entire damn movie. Jar Jar was a cancer on the group that was traveling throughout the galaxy the entire freaking time. They found him immediately.
did,
And
however-
something I didn't know that I want to bring up, I didn't know the reason why Jar Jar stuck with him was because he had a life debt, like Wookiees. So
Oh, you didn't? You
I forgot about
that?
it. So, like Chewie to Han, they had a life debt. You know, Chewie had one to Han. Jar Jar has a life debt to Qui-Gon. Interesting that he stays around afterwards, whatever. But I didn't
I
know
just
that.
kind of like a Yusa, guys.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm one of them. You know, I'm a general back home, but yeah, I'm one of them.
Yusa, some great guys.
Oh, he's not Italian.
So bad.
Bippity boppity boopy.
I mean, I'm picking Gungans. I mean, yes, the battle droids were dopey and stupid, and they were extremely
The Sand People come
inefficient.
back.
Oh yeah, but the Tusken Raiders are so hilarious. They just want to shoot shit and laugh. They're so awesome.
You're so hyped about
they
it.
were so
too.
happy with themselves when they took down that dumbass pod racer. They were so like I just wanted to pat them on their heads and go, "Good job, guys. You got it. You did good."
And Sleepy Jabba.
Yeah.
Sleepy Jabba fucking kills, dude.
I mean, I think that it's Gungans for me. I'm just gonna say I'm gonna go with Gungans.
Definitely Gungans.
All right,
Definitely.
it's
Like,
Gungans.
you're never going to hear
Now,
the end of it.
I'll tell you what. Episode 2, I'm gonna struggle because there's a lot of new alien races in episode 2.
Oh,
so
man.
I don't know where I'm gonna go.
I'm so excited to find out if there's something that sticks out on a rewatch, though, because I'm with you. Like, I can't think of anything, but like, it might be one of those things where we will rewatch it and it's like, no, it's definitely those guys.
I may just pick like, the one species that really pissed me off, Jedi, just in general. Like that's my episode 2 gripe. It's just be all Jedi in general.
Just idiots.
Just stupid ass Jedi who can't do anything right.
I don't know.
Even when they got this old man of a Sith to deal with.
We'll see.
We will see. Is there anything else that you guys wanted to touch on before we sign off on this one?
Let me go over my notes. I think I hit everything.
Flip through the old notebook here.
Yep.
Yep. Shit on Java. Yep. Ooh, Java.
I do want to further reinforce that the Gungans are idiots. The other general that I thought was kind of cool. The other general, when he was with Jar Jar, when they were going up against the droid army, he says, and I quote, "Ouch time," which I thought was dumb and unnecessary. So that further reinforces that Gungans are idiots.
So incredibly necessary.
It's not. It's really
Ouch
not.
time.
Like, I just imagine the Gungan race as just a whole bunch of like
Small
bullies. Yeah, small children bully like 4th or 3rd graders. Like, it's just I can't be around this for too long. It's too much.
It's one of those things where like I don't necessarily think that the concept for Gungans is bad, but like maybe don't make them a central character in the movie.
I thought
A central character, and then their way of speech. It's just
I thought
why
they pushed it too hard. I think the idea, and Dean, I agree with what you're saying. The concept of the Gungans is perfectly fine, and even I like how they look. I like how Gungans look. I think they're awesome, but they really just honed in that there are these wackadoos that are just a bunch of doofuses. Like, it's just they didn't need to portray them that way. Or if they were going to, maybe just isolate it to Jar Jar and not have the other general go, "Ouch time!" Like, you didn't need that. You didn't need that.
No, I do think that like making them all that way was important though, because if it was just Jar Jar, then he is unequivocally the worst character.
He was kicked out. He got out. He was freaking ostracized. Remember?
from that race.
He's
from
clumsy.
that race.
He was ostracized. Yeah, and his explanation was he was clumsy. We don't really know what he did.
Yusa mightn't be saying that.
Honestly, he might have explained it, but I couldn't understand it through his half-assed Jamaican slash like style of speaking. I don't know where they were going with that.
I feel like there's a Jamaican somewhere who's like, "How fucking dare you say
It's a
that
little,
I
it's a
sound
little,
like him?"
well, I mean, come
Yeah.
on, it's
super
it's
insensitive.
clearly like it feels Jamaican to me. Like it sounds like they were trying to emulate like some kind of Jamaican dialect, but then put it a little like add extra syllables to words like da and foo and poo and put them in front of normal freaking words to create their own weird little dialect. But I think it's outstandingly Jamaican accent.
Well, I will
Or I
say
would
this.
say
I
a like
think
a Caribbean or calypso accent.
Someone from the what is it? The Bahamas
Mhm.
Islands? Caribbean? Yeah, definitely Caribbean. Yeah.
I'm pretty confident in saying that this movie wins the award for most uses of poodoo in a single Star Wars movie.
Uh, yeah, a reward that no one asked for, but yeah, they got it.
You guys nailed it with this one. Hit it right out of the park.
Most likely to
Mhm.
say poodoo too many times. Episode 1.
Who else was nominated? No one.
No one. Yeah.
John, anything else you want to touch on before we sign off for this week?
No, nothing else other than Darth Maul over Boba Fett, but that's about it. That's all I got.
Okay, Boba Fett's way better than Darth Maul. So until next week, when we watch episode 2 and find out just how bad it really is. Have fun out there, guys.